Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 13th, 2021 work session to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Colleen, will you call roll?
Mr. Ambrose?
Present.
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Moab?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Dr. Eunice?
Here.
Mr. Zaritsky?
Here.
Ms. Belcastro?
Here. Mr. Halsey?
Yes, I want to announce that the board held several executive sessions between the last meeting and tonight. The board held 2 executive sessions, one on December 28th, 2020, and one on January 5, 2021, to receive information from the superintendent related to the COVID numbers in the district and his recommendations for returning to the instructional program. The board also met tonight at 6:30 to continue receiving information on that as well.
Public comments on agenda items. Anything related with kindergarten will be done after the meeting. And as of right now,
As of right now, we did receive one comment via email prior to this morning. That'll be read. It's related to kindergarten. As of right now, there's no other public comment online.
minutes. Number 1, to approve the voting session minutes from November 19th, 2020. Number 2, to approve the voting session minutes from December 3rd, 2020. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. King, Treasurer's Report.
The following bills and reports are submitted for approval. A, pay bills. Number 1, confirm the December 2020 general fund payments in the amount of $3,185,671.36. 2, confirm the December 2020 cafeteria fund payments in the amount of $40,960.28. E, the report to approve the November 2020 Berkheimer report. 2, to approve the December 2020 Berkheimer report.
Any discussion? Okay. And we have public comments on agenda item again. Okay.
Yeah, we can skip over that.
Okay. Board policies, number 1, to approve a second interim agreement with Roads Transit regarding contracted school transportation through the end of the 2020-2021 school year or until normal operations resume. Number 2, to approve the execution of a release and assignment agreement with Selective Insurance Company of America. Any discussion, any questions?
Can we get a little more explanation on number 2, Dr. Perry? Has to do with a bond claim that the district submitted a bond claim.
It's the, to give you a little more information, Tom, as Nick said, it is related to a bond claim. What we are doing is assigning our rights to collect on that bond to the insurance company in exchange for the payment of what we are owed to collect a portion of the money. We're not quite at the cap yet. So if our auditors find that there's more money due to us, we can still go after them for that. But it's just the ability of the insurance company to stand in our shoes essentially and assigning some of our rights to them. Okay. We are going to be receiving a sum of money in exchange for that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Joe?
Yeah, on number 1, if you're going to need the negotiations committee. Just keep us apprised of what you want.
Yeah, I will. So that item right there is related to the COVID bus shutdowns. The state has put together a formula because the drivers are not driving the students. We are able to reduce our costs for the days of which kids were not being provided transportation to the district. So,
You had an agreement with them at the tail end of last year, right?
correct.
This will be renewing it?
It's very similar.
In essence, yes.
Okay. Mr. O'Neill, negotiation items.
There's nothing at this time.
Mr. Ross, education.
Yes, Ms. Belcastro, in our presentation, since you were the chairperson of our kindergarten committee, and you worked hand in hand a lot with Dr. Perry, and we started this way back in when you were the chairperson. I'd like to kick it back to you so you can lead it off, as handle this discussion, okay?
Thank you. In 2019, the board formed a committee to gather information on the feasibility of implementing a full-day kindergarten program. This evening's presentation is a result of the extensive research and many hours on everyone's part. The committee would like to thank Dr. Perry, Mrs. Kasanovich, Mrs. Park, Mr. Malley, and Mr. Badia for their time and their input. On a more personal note, speaking as an educator and a former first grade teacher, I contend the students exposed to a full day kindergarten have the greater opportunity to be successful. Academic standards and curriculum in today's world has become more rigorous and demanding higher expectations from children at an earlier age. So it is incumbent with school boards and administrators to make decisions in the best interest of our children, regardless of the cost. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Perry for the start of the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Belcastro. I'm going to invite Mrs. Kasanovich and Mrs. Park to come on up here towards the front. Tonight's presentation is going to be a combination of folks are going to present information. John Badia is joining us via the World Wide Web. He is our architect for the Central Valley School District. So he'll bring us some information with regards to our initial feasibility study that was done back in 2015-16. So he'll be presenting information later on in the presentation with regards to construction costs should we choose to do something with regards to full day kindergarten at Center Grange. Also, Mr. Malley, our business manager, is here. He will speak on finances and 5-year projection with regards to potentially implementing the program. The program itself, Mrs. Kasanovich, the building principal, as well as Mrs. Park, our director of special education, spent considerable amount of time trying to determine what the program would look like and what kind of impact that would have on staffing as well. I want to thank ahead of time the education committee who has worked for months on this, as well as the finance committee who has worked, for several years on our finances, making sure that the district remains viable with regards to our money spent here. So it's really a collaborative effort of the entire board and the administration to present the information here tonight. There's several slides. I'll do the best I can to streamline the presentation to the best of my abilities. And at the end of the presentation, at the end of the night, if there's public questions, then we certainly are going to welcome those. I believe that you're able to put the PowerPoint online for folks to see. Okay, so I'm going to start with the kindergarten feasibility study. And at some point in time, John, I'm going to ask you to jump in, John Badia, to this. The Central Valley feasibility study was done from September 2015, September 2016. That feasibility study was done on all of the district buildings. At the time, we were trying to figure out what we were going to do with regards to potentially Todd Lane, the middle school, the high school. We knew that we needed that we knew that our buildings are in need of work. And the district hired Crabtree, Rohrbaugh to do our feasibility study. That started back in September of 2015. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what happened. So back in September of 2015, the following areas were evaluated by the engineers. They did mechanical and electrical systems for all 4 of our buildings. They looked at HVAC, which includes heating, cooling, ventilation, so on and so forth. They looked at our plumbing and our fire protection in all of our buildings. They looked at all of our electrical in all of our buildings. They looked at a civil assessment, which is the civil work, which is the asphalt, the parking lots, things like that, all of the land outside of the buildings. So when that was done back in September of 2015, the engineers who evaluated those aspects of all 4 of our buildings found that Center Grange was in great shape because Center Grange is our newest building. So that shouldn't be much of a surprise. As far as Todd Lane, the middle school and the high school, the reports for all of those buildings were kind of a carbon copy of each other. Parking was deteriorating, concrete, asphalt pavement, storm drainage, storm management, handicap accessible parking, bus and vehicle traffic are all mentioned as issues that needed addressed in each of our facilities, with the exception of Center Grange. The HVAC, the plumbing and electrical systems had old equipment well beyond their expected longevity. And due to the age of the equipment, the operational efficiency and cost are higher than necessary. The age of the equipment makes it difficult to obtain replacement parts as well. So in essence, when the feasibility study started and they looked at all the buildings, Center Grange in good shape, the other buildings not so much. And that's kind of a listing of the things that needed to be done. And this was all presented publicly, by the way, throughout that whole entire process. Then we get to October. They continue on to expand on the feasibility study. This time, instead of looking at the mechanical and electrical systems and the civil site, they looked at the building envelopes. So when we talk about the building envelopes, you're talking about things like doors, windows, roofs, so on and so forth. So they looked at the building structures. They looked at the exterior envelope, the exterior walls, exterior doors, windows, interior envelope, the walls, the ceilings, floors, doors, casework, finishes, toilet rooms, kitchen equipment, so on and so forth. Once again, at the end of the day, the information came back very similar, carbon copy of each other. Center Grange in good shape. It was our newest building. And that there was significant work that needed to be done in each of our remaining 3 buildings, which was a similar case with regards to the electrical and mechanical evaluation that was done in September. So when we got to October, the exterior envelopes of the 3 buildings, fair and good condition with some evidence of expansion cracking, which is typical in older buildings. Doors and windows in each of the buildings in poor condition should be replaced. Lintels at Todd Lane in particularly bad shape with clearly visible evidence of rust and corrosion. Window issues are leading to substantial water infiltration damage. Some of the interior walls, ceiling tiles, floor tiles, doors, hardware, casework, finishes, either outdated and or well beyond their life expectancy. Plumbing fixtures and fittings in the restrooms needed to be replaced. Storage in each of the buildings is limited, adequate at best. Finally, the middle school and the high school technology education rooms, library, science, equipment, and auditoriums are all outdated as well. So no big surprise, 3 of the buildings needed work. Center Grange in good shape. Takes us to November. In November, the Board of Education toured the Central Valley Middle School. At that meeting, the board broke into small groups and discussed individual ideas and guiding principles that every member was asked to show up with. Those ideas were pared down and shared in a large group setting to identify similar ideas. So what I'm going to present to you is the list of guiding principles that was put together by the Board of Education that said, no matter what project we do, these are the things that we feel are most important. That list included, thank you, air conditioning or some solution to airflow in each of the buildings, technology, infrastructure, lab and STEM spaces, Maintaining grade configurations. The board at the time felt it was important to maintain the K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12 configuration and the current middle school concept. Security upgrades, building access, site safety, including traffic drop-off and pickup. Space for all-day kindergarten. Departmentalized spaces to include upgrades to the practical and related arts, for instance, music, art, FCS, large group instruction spaces, flexible spaces, upgrades to the auditorium, gymnasium, locker rooms, potentially a field house, football, soccer, baseball, softball stadium upgrades, turf and lights. The other thing that came out of that meeting was that there would need to be further discussion if we were to do a project, whether it would be new versus renovated, everything on one campus or in multiple locations, prioritizing the projects, and then obviously the budget. Takes us to January of 2016. Taking that information, the architects provided a baseline number for what potential renovations would cost to Todd Lane, the middle school, and the high school. Okay, these were just baseline construction numbers. No decision had been made as to if a project was going to happen or if one was going to happen, what project that was going to be. Todd Lane came in between 11 and 13 million. The middle school was between 13 and 16 million. The high school was between 21 and 24 million. Understand that those baseline renovation costs did not address each of the principles that were created. Some of them, but not all of them. For example, no new spaces or additions were included in that baseline number. Every one of the guiding principles was not necessarily addressed. For example, lab spaces and STEM spaces, space for kindergarten, large group instruction spaces, the flexible spaces, the field house, the stadium upgrades, new construction to the existing buildings, or any of the soft costs that are involved in construction, such as financing, estimating, commissioning, testing services, contingencies, furniture and equipment, so on and so forth. So those were just baseline numbers, and it did not really tackle the entire scope of what a project would look like. Takes us to May of 2016. In May of 2016, the district decided that it was going to submit applications for potential PlanCon consideration. PlanCon is a Department of Education step-by-step process that you have to do in order to build buildings or do construction. And if followed, it gives you the opportunity to get reimbursement on projects. So at that time in May, the district decided that it was going to put together an application for the renovation of Todd Lane, the renovation of the middle school, and the renovation of the high school as potential projects. By making that submission, the district secured itself a place in the application queue for potential PlanCon funding. Didn't require the district to move forward with the project. It could be withdrawn at any time, but it did give the district the ability that if we went ahead and did a project, that we would be eligible for reimbursement. And history, I think everybody knows that ultimately we decided on doing a project at Todd Lane, and that is, it is and was reimbursable for PlanCon reimbursement. We are still in queue with regards to renovations at the middle school and the high school, but contracts for those would need to have gone out by this July of this year in order to make that a reality. And with a time frame, I don't know that that's even possible. But we still are in queue based on our PlanCon submission. Which then takes us to a public presentation that was done on September of 2016. And John, I'm going to kind of kick this over to you now to jump in and talk about that public presentation that was done. But in essence, that presentation was the board's wishes based upon all the information they had as to what we were going to decide to do. And the board looked at multiple options, and John's going to go through those. Looked at different things to do with the high school, different things to do with the middle school, different things to do with Todd Lane, Center Grange, so on and so forth. So multiple options were looked at, and then ultimately the Todd Lane project is what was decided on at that time as far as where the district was going to go. John, can you go ahead and take over for this slide right here?
Sure can, if everyone can hear me okay, Dr. Perry. You able to hear me okay?
I can't hear him. Hold on, John, we're having some difficulty here.
Sure. Here, let me see, I'm not sure.
Okay. There you go.
Good to go?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Perry. So as the superintendent was saying, we've basically explored a number of options through the course of the study. That we've developed 4 options. The first option back in September of 16.
Have him turn off his camera. That might
Oh.
help the,
Hold on 1 second, John. What'd you say, Tom?
turns off his camera, it might help the audio.
There's that any
John, can
better?
you try to turn your camera off, see if it helps the audio? We're real choppy on your audio here.
Sure, it's off now. How's that? Better?
Not really.
I can actually hear the echo on my end from your room.
On your part of this. So in September, a public presentation was done, multiple options. Option 1 was a comprehensive scope renovation that could be done, or there was a reduced scope renovation. So the board needed to make a decision whether or not they were going to go all in or whether we were going to reduce the scope of the renovation that we were going to do. The kindergarten addition to Center Grange was certainly part of that discussion for full day kindergarten, as well as additions and renovations to the Todd Lane Elementary School, renovations to the middle school, renovations to the high school was all part of that. Option 1A, kindergarten addition to Center Grange, full day kindergarten addition and reduced scope renovations to Todd Lane Elementary School, reduced scope renovations at the middle school, new gym addition and reduced scope renovations at the high school. 1B was kindergarten addition to Center Grange, addition and reduced scope renovations to Todd Lane Elementary School, reduced scope renovations at the middle school, and extensive additions and reduced scope renovations to the high school.
Dr. Perry,
Yes,
may I add something?
yes, please.
If I remember right, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, at this point in time, we were looking to do a complete district overhaul.
Correct.
And so we were looking to doing improvements to every building, not just one. And that's why we were looking at different options, because X amount of funds and what could we do to touch every building. Either we were going to look at, as you said, the comprehensive or reduced scope, and to try to juggle around so that we would have some sort of renovations done to all the buildings.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. So if you look at this next slide, which was option 1, this was the comprehensive scope that we're going to do kindergarten addition at Center Grange for 1.9 to 2.1 million. Todd Lane was an estimated $14 to $16 million project that had the kitchen addition on there. The middle school renovations only, 17 to 19 million. High school renovations only, 25 to 29 million. Total all buildings comprehensive scope was between 59 and $66 million. Plus phase 1 stadium improvements, which turf, scoreboard, field lighting, pedestrian access, stormwater, eventually turned into the tennis courts as well, was estimated at 1.25 million. So that was the first thing that was out there, was that complete scope. Option 2, we looked at kindergarten addition to Center Grange, addition and reduced scope of renovations to Todd Lane Elementary School, talked about potentially vacating the existing middle school, talked about converting the existing high school to a 6-8 middle school and constructing a brand new high school altogether. There were numbers presented for that, 2 million for Center Grange, 12.5 million for Todd Lane. That was a reduced scope project. Converting the existing high school, vacating the middle school, converting its 9-12 high school to a 6-8 middle school. That was 29 million. And then to build a new high school was $43 million. Total option 2, all building, all scope, $86.5 million total project cost, plus the stadium improvements at 1.25. Option 3, kindergarten addition to Center Grange, vacate existing Todd Lane Elementary School, demolish it, construct parking lots, playing fields, vacate the existing Central Valley Middle School, convert the existing high school, which we sit in, to an intermediate 3-8 building and construct a brand new high school. The numbers for those were 2 million for Center Grange, 38 million to convert the high school into a 3-8 building, and then 43 million for a new high school. Came to a total of $83 million plus the stadium. And then number 4 was kindergarten addition to Center Grange, addition and reduced scope of renovations to Todd Lane Elementary, vacate the middle school altogether, and then convert the existing high school to a combined 6-12 building here. Estimated 2 million for Center Grange, 12.5 million for the reduced scope work at Todd Lane, and then converting the current high school to a combined high school middle school was 55 million, total is 69.5 million for all those plus the stadium. Also, they looked at the possibility of building new versus renovating the middle school, the comprehensive renovations only to the middle school. Renovations were 17 to 19 million. We're constructing a new middle school there would have been 30. Same thing with the high school, renovations 25 to 29 million, and then constructing a brand new would have been 43. So all of those were on the table at the time. As we all know, history tells us that the district decided that we were going to do the Todd Lane Elementary project. And the Todd Lane Elementary project was done not in a reduced scope, but a comprehensive renovation to that building. So that brings us to where we are today. That was the feasibility study that was done. Okay, after that, the district had looked at going potentially middle school, high school, and the addition to Center Grange at some point in time as we move down the road. So after we got the Todd Lane construction project done, because of where we were finance timing wise, we have not moved on any other projects at this time, other than to kick up this discussion about the potential for renovating Center Grange to do all-day kindergarten. Any questions, comments on that?
Would like to speak.
Tom has a question, though.
Miss,
Just a quick clarification on that too. I mean, even back in 2015, we recognized all-day kindergarten as a board, as a want for this district.
It absolutely was always part of the guiding principles.
Yes, we saw that as a want for this district.
Correct.
We then prioritized the buildings based on needs of the buildings.
That is correct.
By their physical needs. And then we also decided to put off some of the higher cost items to maybe see if we will recognize additional revenues from all the development that was coming in our district in the coming years. Since from 2015 till now, we were hoping to recognize more revenues that maybe we'd be able to tackle these higher cost items down the road.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, and this is what I've put together after reviewing the feasibility study performed by Crabtree Roebuck Group. It became obvious to me that every proposed renovation option, as you can see, as we just ran through, included adding classrooms to the Center Grange Primary Center to accommodate all-day, everyday kindergarten. Also noted in the reviews was a bullet point labeled departmentalized spaces to include upgrades to the practical, related arts, music, art, family, consumer sciences, etc. Seeing this bullet point brought my thoughts back to the stage area at Center Grange, which is being used as a music classroom. This use of the stage is okay on a temporary basis, but that is not the case. It is regularly used as such a classroom, subjected to distractions when the gym is in use for PE or when the cafeteria is used for its intended purposes. Also, if there's a special program scheduled for the cafeteria and the stage is to be used, the music class most likely has to be canceled due to space restrictions in the building. This happens, for instance, during the students' Christmas program and the classes having practices leading to the actual program. Seeing how our student population figures are following the PD predictions from 2015, the Center Grange population growth is steadily increasing, as is the district as a whole. It makes sense to add the classrooms at Center Grange for all-day kindergarten and build the wing addition to cover our growth. The cost proposed in 2016 was estimated to be at $2 million for just a couple classrooms. This estimate for the wing addition is now around $8 million. Construction costs aren't going down. No costs are. But if we want to be the desired district that people want their children to attend, let's step up to the plate and be progressive. I was shocked when we did this research and I found out that we are the only district in Beaver County and the surrounding counties that don't offer all-day, everyday kindergarten. Back in 15-16, when we did this feasibility study, we looked at the renovation needs of all our buildings and had assigned cost estimates to all of them, which we just reviewed. Obviously, to satisfy our most immediate need, the Todd Lane project had to come first. At that time, we had hoped to move on to the middle school and the high school. Then the price tag for these buildings was around 16 and 24 million respectively. The Center Grange building, being the newest, had the least immediate needs. Financially, it would cost the least to make some upgrades there to add some classroom space. Fast forward to the present, now we must consider our lowest cost project that can meet our immediate needs. That immediate need now is to add space at Center Grange to accommodate all-day kindergarten by whatever means it takes to accomplish this. This is a project that is our immediate need to keep up with the process of educating our students. It also has the lowest price tag and must be moved to the top of our priority list. Constructing the additional classrooms at the end of the kindergarten wing, as you will see illustrated in John Badia's presentation, will not have a safety impact on the education processes or the students during the school year compared to what we experienced in the Todd Lane project. I think every one of us on this board ran for the position to make a positive difference in the educational experience we offer the students in our district. Let's not be short-sighted when it comes to offering our youngest students the opportunity of all-day kindergarten.
I'd like to refer back to something. I might have missed it when you were talking, okay? Trying to write and I might have missed it, but it was said that the Center Grange was in good shape, and my understanding that it's good shape. We never have to do anything to Center Grange. Is that what you said at the beginning, since it was in the best shape?
Okay, so when they did the feasibility study in 2015 and they evaluated the mechanical systems, electrical systems, building envelopes, civil site, so on and so forth, that Center Grange, there were no recommendations for Center Grange at that time, back in 2015, other than LED lighting upgrade. Obviously, that was 2015. It's now 2021. I think we all know that systems tend to age and that at some point in time, systems at Center Grange will need addressed just as in any other building.
Okay, but we do need, my understanding is that we do need to replace some heating systems and.
Yeah, so we're going to.
Anything else?
We're going to get to that towards the end.
Okay, so we do need to do things even at our newest building, other than what was just renovated. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Is Center Grange, Mrs. Kasanovich, we could probably answer this. The way it sits right now, is Center Grange too small for what is being used and what needs are there at the school?
We do need some more space, yeah.
We do need more space. Okay. And if for educational purposes or just
Yes.
for education? All right. All right, thank you. a question, I was going to ask John this. Obviously, we're having some problems getting through.
Let me see if we got him back yet. John, you want to go ahead and speak, see how you?
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine. I'm guessing your mics are picking up my audio that might be causing the echo.
That was maybe, Tom, I think you were the building and grounds guy. I don't see any our building and grounds people here, but and John would probably be the guy to talk to on this, and I wish I could have him answer to this. Maybe the principals can. Middle school, high school. At either the middle school or the high school, are the roofs falling in, caving in? Are the walls sturdy and are falling down? Are they falling down?
Are the walls falling down?
Yeah, the walls falling down. Is the roof falling in? Okay.
The walls are not falling down. The roof has leaked for several years.
Okay, so even in a new building, we've had roofs leaking. With the type of roofs there are, the flat roofs, they leak. We know that. We've had this replaced here, and when it was replaced, then we had to replace it again. It was under warranty, so they still leaked. Okay. The floors are solid. I mean, they're not falling in. Okay. So educationally, at both of those schools, we can accommodate, and we're doing the job educationally at both of those schools without renovating them, right?
Educationally, we're doing the job.
Okay, good. And if anybody knows me, how many people know me, you know that if it were up to me, I'd build a Taj Mahal High School. I'd have a middle school that, I'd have an enclosed dome stadium, a field house all separate where nobody had to go through the schools. If we had the money to do that, and with the way I think and what I like to do. So I am not whatsoever against doing anything positive aesthetically to any building that we have, the grounds, et cetera. So I don't want anybody to get the impression when I give my presentation that I'm not thinking of the middle school or the high school. And I think some of you guys have talked to me, and you know how I feel, about what I would do if I could do this, And that's the same way when I approached the middle school, Todd Lane, I said, we're going to do this right, because my name's on this, all right? And I feel the same way about any project that we do here in Central Valley, because I want to do it and do it right. Now, and the other question I have, you had mentioned the estimate, Dr. Perry, was 15 million for Todd Lane?
Well,
the original cost, when we bid it out.
The top of my head, I could tell, when they did the feasibility study,
13.
it was 15 to 16, 17 million.
What did it end up?
John, what was the final number? Don't include the
Like 20 million.
don't include the stadium.
Yeah,
Close to 20.
20, because
20 million. So we went from 16 to 20 million, all right? 15 to 20 million, just for Todd Lane. Okay.
You ready to continue on?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
Wait a minute, am I gonna go?
No, not
I
yet.
don't know what
No,
you guys
no,
work.
No, go ahead.
It's on him. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Perry.
Okay, so moving off the feasibility study, the board directed myself to do a study on the potential for full-day kindergarten. So that study began all the way back in September of 2019. And we did, as I had mentioned earlier, work between the principal, the special ed director, myself. We met with food service. We met with transportation services. Anybody that you can think of that would have any input on where potential needs would be for all-day kindergarten, running all the way up till today. So you can see that this is not something that just came up, recently. This is something that we've been looking at here for at least over a year and a half or so. Starting with the master schedule, I directed Mrs. Kasanovich to work with Mrs. Park at creating and looking at a potential master schedule for the building. That master schedule is one that would mimic what the master schedule is at Todd Lane, but allow for all grade levels K-3 to have equity as it relates to time allotted for the core curriculum, as well as for each of the special subject areas in phys ed, computers, art, library, and music. So Carla, do you want to speak on the master schedule?
So right now, the schedule, the current schedule, the kindergarten schedule is about 2.5 hours per session, kindergarten AM and kindergarten PM. This master schedule would mimic, like Dr. Perry said, the other grade levels. So it would include a 90-minute ELA reading block, a 60-minute math block, a 40-minute science and social studies block, which would be completely new. Flexible grouping or intervention services for 30 minutes for the students, a common block where they do certain activities such as AR or other activities during the day, a flex time to finish some work from other classes, recess for 20 minutes, and a lunch for 30 minutes. That would be the new master schedule for the kindergarten, going from the 2.5 hours per day. Yes.
Out of the master schedule, what is, I know you'd mentioned that the science and social studies would be an add-on. Is there anything else that's?
Well, everything, reading the ELA block and the math block are usually what we're concentrating on right now. So the other things are just giving them extra time to do interventions and to do extra work with the students, or the things that the first grade and the second grade do usually get to do that the kindergarten doesn't.
So you're adding more time to reading in ELA, more time to math, you're adding science and social studies, and then you're giving them some of the flex.
They do get science and social studies right now within the ELA program,
okay,
but it is just mixed in with that program.
You'll also be adding specials to.
And specials, correct, which is at the bottom there.
Mr. Kasanovich, I was already under the assumption. Now, is that 2.5 hours of instruction? Or is that 2.5 hours from the, getting on the bus, walking to whatever?
It includes everything, the full day.
Okay, so as far as instruction, I was always under the impression, from what my understanding, that the kids are getting, on a good day, 2 hours.
Yes.
Does that sound about right?
Yes.
So when we're saying 2.5, it's really not 2.5. The kids are getting instruction.
They're physically with us.
They're physically with you for 2.5, but they're not getting instruction for maybe, on a good day, 2 hours.
They still receive recess as well.
Okay, just as long as that was cleared up, okay, because I was, when you said that, it kind of threw me off a little bit. Okay, thank you.
Ready for me to move on? Going back to the discussion about the specials, currently, physical education is, we have a half-time instructor there. Our computer teacher, we share staff, the high school. Art is currently a half-time position. The library shared staff with the middle school and I believe Todd Lane, if I'm not mistaken. And the music is shared with the high school, the position itself. Physical education, computers, art, and music currently provide enrichment to our students in the building. So it's not kindergarten focused or first grade focused, second grade focused. They currently provide enrichment. Those teachers do at least a day a week. So in doing an analysis, if we were to provide physical education, computers, art, library, music full-time, we would need to currently add 4 new staff members. We would need a new hire in music, library, and computers. And the part-time, the full-time would be the physical education and the art. It must be noted in 2020, 2021, we did eliminate shared music staff with a math teacher that was going from the high school. We would need to take a look at the middle school Todd Lane Library impact and see if there was anybody else that we could share across the buildings in order not to hire new folks. But if we did that, I'm going to tell you, it's going to have an impact on Todd Lane because we provide enrichment and remediation in that building as well. So our best guess estimate is that we would need 4 staff members in order to accommodate the full-time specials at Center Grange, correct? Correct. Okay. Kindergarten staff itself, we currently do provide extended day kindergarten. That would be eliminated. We have 24 students that participate in full day kindergarten currently, the extended day program. That extended day program is paid for through a Ready to Learn grant. Next year, that grant's worth $113,527. We would still be able to use that funding to do full day kindergarten should we go forward with that. Even though it eliminates the extended day kindergarten, there would no longer be a need. And we feel that we would need 3 additional kindergarten staff members in order to go to a full day program.
Barry,
Yes,
does that expire or do we have to renew that in 2023?
we renew it every year. I have to rewrite the grant. It's part of our basic ed subsidy. It's just, they call it a Ready to Learn grant.
Likelihood of us not getting that grant?
John?
We would,
He said, what's the likelihood of us not getting it? I mean, that's part of our subsidy.
right,
Okay, so it's pretty much
that's all.
budgeted in.
Yeah.
It's been there since I've been here.
Dr. Perry,
Special education, yes.
are you able to hear me? Hey, Ed and I have this worked out audio through my phone, so I can see the video. And can you hear me okay now?
Okay, special education. We currently have 3 full-time special education teachers at Center Grange. We provide autistic support. We provide inclusion. We also provide a hybrid. Those are all based upon exceptionalities that students have. I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Park. She can speak to the details of special ed and the impact on special education.
Sure. State regulations are very clear as to how many students you can have on a teacher's roster. They have maximum caseload numbers according to Chapter PA 14 regulations. And when we talk about the word exceptionality, that would be the student has and the type of services that they receive. So for example, students who receive autistic support in a full-time or supplemental program, that teacher roster size could be a maximum of 8. In our current autistic support classroom, we have some students who are receiving autistic support, other students who are receiving life skills support. So the roster size varies from year to year. Currently, we have 10 students on that teacher's roster. That does keep us within our compliance regulations. But when we have the half-day kindergarten, we really only have 8 students in the morning and 8 students in the afternoon because students, for example, might share a slot by coming for that half-day program. When we talk about a hybrid program, we're talking about a teacher who does some pull-out services. So her students may be pulled out for ELA, English Language Arts, or math, and then they may receive some inclusion support in their typical classrooms. That roster size also varies. Typically, it's going to be anywhere from 15 to 20. Currently, given the exceptionalities on that teacher's roster, she can have a maximum roster size of 18. Currently, we have 14 students. As far as our inclusion rosters go, that is a teacher who provides support in the general education classroom for students. Maximum roster sizes typically vary between 45 and 50 students. Currently, there's 14 students on that roster, but I can tell you historically this roster size will grow due to the nature of identifying students at Center Grange because that's their first time of having a school experience with us. So typically we end the school year with a roster total between 25 and 30 students. I can tell you also that it can be very difficult for our teachers when they're providing services across 3 different grade levels. Every grade level has a different schedule. Every teacher within that grade level, not every teacher, but several teachers within the grade level will have different schedules. So trying to juggle all of that and to make sure that all of the pieces of the puzzle fit can be very difficult. We've been able to get by somewhat because our kindergarten students, again, can be split between the morning and the afternoon session. So bringing in those kiddos all day long will make it a little bit more difficult for scheduling and things of that nature. So our best guess is that we would be looking at a new additional special education teacher to make sure that we can adequately service and provide for the needs of our students.
Okay,
Do you want me to keep going?
yep,
Okay, so as far as related services go, again, the state regulations are very clear on the guidelines and the maximum number of students you have on a roster. Those numbers don't change whether you're full day kindergarten or AM kindergarten. So there will be no no impact to our speech rosters. OT is occupational therapy, PT is physical therapy, ESL is English language arts. English as a second language, and then gifted. So there will be no impact to those areas.
and actually you feel it might be easier to deliver those services.
Correct. It will actually probably be easier to schedule because now we have to target within an AM or a PM slot for students, and then we'll have access to them all school day. So that will allow our teachers to be more flexible as to when they're able to see students. We have several paraprofessionals that work at Center Grange as well as our other 3 buildings. With the addition of a special education teacher and reconfiguring some of the special education classroom caseloads, we do feel like we would need some additional paraprofessionals. Also keep in mind that our AM, PM kiddos share paraprofessionals. A paraprofessional will be with a student in the AM, different student in the PM. Once we move to all day kindergarten, that won't allow for the sharing of staff members. So my best guess is that we would probably be looking at 4 additional paraprofessionals.
Okay. Title I, we currently employ 2 Title I teachers and a Title I paraprofessional to provide services to students qualifying for intervention based upon set criteria using standardized test results. We do NWA maps, DIBEL, CBA, STAR benchmark testing. We do that in the fall, the winter, and the spring. That system allows for us to test students, and then they test in or out of the intervention system. Tiered intervention occurs in 2 ways. Either we go and we pull kids out of class and go work with them, or we push into class and work with them. Depending on what tier you're in, determines the amount of intervention you get. Tier 3 intervention is our most intensive intervention. Students who qualify for Tier 3, they get pulled out of class 5 days a week for 30 minutes to work on reading and or math. While Tier 2 intervention is a little less intensive, we typically pull out or push in 3 days a week for 30 minutes. And then Tier 1 interventions are supposed to be facilitated within the general classroom by the classroom teacher. We feel that we would need 1 new staff member for Title I services based upon the numbers. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Our current numbers are as follows. This is for both reading and math. Most of the interventions are reading specific at the primary ages. Could be the same students for reading and math. Tier 3 numbers for reading. Kindergarten, there's 24 students. Those 24 students are the one that receive full day kindergarten now with the extended day, 5 days a week. There's 5 first grade students and 16 second grade students in the asterisks because it could be the same for reading and for math. Tier 3 numbers for math, kindergarten, 24, same kids as above. First grade, there's 4 students. There's 6 in second grade that receive that most extensive intervention 5 days a week. And then if you look at our Tier 2 numbers, you have 29, 27, and 16 students that are receiving the 3 days a week, 30-minute pull out. You guys want to discuss that a little further?
That's fine. You did a great job. Yeah, the Tier 2 is just the lesser of the tiers. So that's why there are more students that we're servicing, and we can do that sometimes pushing into the classroom. So that's a little easier.
And just to make it clear, kindergarten, our Tier 3 is serviced through the developmental, the EK kindergarten, the full day kindergarten. So if we're no longer providing the full day kindergarten, we have to have a service to provide for those students that are going to be here all day.
Right. So I'm going to repeat that. So if we go to the full day kindergarten, the extended day kindergarten no longer services those students. Therefore, we're going to have folks to service these students. We have to create the support for those students who are typically getting it through the full day, extended day kindergarten.
But we have full day kindergarten for students that are struggling, that need intervention.
On the criteria when we test them with the.
We have 24 students that attend all day, every day.
Correct.
Currently, out of 139, something like that. Cafeteria, we met with the cafeteria folks, evaluated staffing needs with the addition of a potential third lunch period, an additional 50 to 100 students at breakfast. We contract out through the nutrition group. They didn't feel there would be any major impact on staffing in order to serve the food. We would need to extend the day of 3 of our 4 cafeteria workers by a total of about an hour and 15 minutes. Must be noted, cafeteria, it's its own business. It's independent of the general fund. Any increase in cost and or sales could offset costs for labor and supplies. We would feel that we would need to retain the additional monitor that we hired due to COVID-19 in order to help with the kids. Transportation, met with Bob Rhodes. We contract through Rhodes busing. Also met with Sue Cole, Sam Sircone. They kind of run our transportation services here for the district. Didn't feel that there would be any impact on needing additional buses. Currently, our fleet would maintain what we currently have. There would not be a reduced cost in buses. We currently purchase the amount of buses we need for all the kids. So they double up. They do an elementary run, they do a secondary run. There is the possibility for our special needs students. We could require additional transportation. And I'm gonna let Mrs. Park speak to that based on the fact that right now, we have some students, let's say, that come in vans. They can come in the morning and the other group comes in the afternoon. If we go full day, we're gonna have to bring all those kids in at the same time, which may require a larger fleet in order to get them there based on their needs. You want to speak to that?
Right, that's exactly the case. So we have several students who come in for half day. So we try to divvy those up so that we can use one vehicle to provide AM transportation and PM transportation. If they're all coming at the same time, then that's going to look a little bit different.
John, I'm just going to put you on speaker.
Students have and the needs that they have.
Put you near the microphone.
Behavioral needs.
Everybody
like that.
should be able to hear.
Our bus attendants, some of them need to be in car seats, and some different things. Some of them have difficulty with noise, so we need to keep their ridership down to a minimum. So our numbers there should be a little different because of COVID. Some parents are choosing to drive, so it's a little bit hard to know how the things will change over time. But I could anticipate that we would likely require an additional van and an additional bus attendant.
Okay, any questions on that? If we were to do that, if you go to the next slide, please. Our current transportation costs, regardless of size of bus, whatever it is, it's $254.64 a day. 186 days would be $47,363 for each additional vehicle that we potentially would have to add on, if we have to add any on at all. Some additional educational resources that need to be considered. All of our students have iPads, which is a positive, so there's no additional cost there. We would need to purchase some social studies materials, some science kits, some math manipulative kits, and some supplies for the specials classes, because they don't typically get specials now. We put an estimate to some money there. That would be in the building budgets. So it would increase the building budget a little bit. We're going to need time for curriculum creation. You're going from a math and reading from a half day to a full day. So we're going to need time to actually create the curriculum that covers a year long. We'd have to create science and social studies curriculum. While Mrs. Kasanovich said they do get some science and social studies, it is embedded in their reading. It is. I don't want to say minimal, but it's not going to be the extent that it would be if they were there all day. Same with art, music, computers, phys ed. That's all new. We feel like we probably need about a school year to get the curriculum written for those classes. Other information, staffing cost. This is just the average cost of a teacher. I know earlier we talked about potentially we would need 4 specials teachers and 3 kindergarten teachers and a Title I teacher, a special ed teacher. All of those teachers come with a price tag. This is just a quick breakdown from a bachelor to a master's degree. based upon our salary schedule. So you're looking at, anywhere, once you add in benefits, depending on what benefits they take, you're looking at anywhere from $72,000 to $74,000 a teacher plus benefits. And you can see the benefits run anywhere from, $9,000 to $25,000, depending on what kind of health benefits they take. So you're probably looking at about 100 per teacher, give or take. Paraprofessionals, I think we had mentioned maybe four paraprofessionals in the presentation. Salary, Peasers, FICA, they don't get health benefits. You're looking at about $20,000 a para. Custodian, if indeed, depending on the extent of renovation or new construction to that building, we're going to need to look at additional custodial support there in that building. And you can see the salary, roughly $43,000 plus health benefits as well for each custodian that would go there. And then we mentioned the extra hour and 15 minutes for the cafeteria. That's about $5,000. Once again, not in the general fund. That staffing costs are part of the cafeteria business, which runs itself. One of the other things that we were asked to take a look at is Baden Academy. We do lose students to Baden Academy. This is a running list of what we paid out to Baden Academy for students who attended Baden Academy since 2014-15. You can see in 14-15, it was $353,000. As of 19-20, we paid out $483,000. This is in September of this year. We had 27 students that were regular ed students at Baden Academy, 2 of which were special ed students at Baden Academy. You can see the cost for a regular ed student or a special ed student that attends Baden Academy, very specifically looking at the 7 kindergarten kids that would start there and matriculate through the system. I know when we go through the finances, Mr. Malley will show potential tuition cost that we would gain back should students no longer choose to attend Baden Academy and stay in the Central Valley School District. Okay, any questions on that part of the presentation?
Mr. Ross has stuff he would like to say at this point.
Question, if I may go.
Dritsky has a question first.
Okay.
No.
Sure.
If all day kindergarten does go, is Baden Academy no longer an option?
No, Baden Academy is always an option for parents. They don't have to not go there.
So, and then no matter what, we pay for that.
Yes,
And is that standard through the entire county?
yes.
So any student from any district in this county, if they would be accepted to Baden Academy, can choose to go and it's at that district's expense.
Depending on their acceptance criteria. I know they only take so many kids, but yes, that's accurate.
George, just to build on that, maybe I've talked to the director over there, okay, in the past. And before, when all the schools were going half day, like we are, they had a lot of other school districts going there. And the last one to go full-time was Beaver. And it seems, she said, as whenever the school districts go full-time, they lose those kids. Like the last one was Beaver. Beaver never sent any more there. The only 2 major schools that are going there are Aliquippa and Ambridge. But they take up the most as far as the enrollment. And then we're there. We go, okay? I'm just clearing that up to let you know that in case you're thinking, well, maybe still some of our kids would go. That's a possibility. But as far as history shows from what the director has said, once the school districts start all day, every day kindergarten, they no longer see that school does not participate.
Thank you.
Mr. Ross?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Balcastro. First, I'd like to thank the kindergarten committee. Starting with the administration and, Mrs. Kasanovich, Director of Special Ed, and our building and grounds people, our custodial staff. in partaking in this, our cafeteria people, and everybody that was involved in working in this, on this committee to give us some information. And especially the three other board members along with myself, with all the work that was put into researching, talking to various school districts, talking to parents, talking with board members. I know myself, I'm part of the IU board, and every one of their districts, every school district has a representative. And I've sat down and I've questioned every single one of them from every school district on what the process was and how it's going and is it worth the money, et cetera. So there has been a lot of time and effort, especially, like I said, not only with the people that you just heard from, but also the other board members that did the groundwork and talking to all these various people to get the information that a lot of it I'm going to give you. And as Ms. Belcastro said at the get-go, it's going to be repetition to a lot of the board members here. They've heard me for, I'll go through how many years I've been on this, and I will duplicate and talk about some of the things that have already been said. But I have it on paper here, so I'm going to cover everything that I have, okay? 11 years ago, I ran for this school board with the idea to help move our district forward for it to be the best school district in Beaver County. Now, in those 11 years, I've seen some very good things happening here in this district, both with our building and grounds and education that is taking place, and especially with our curriculum and our technology since the merger. I think the administration, the boards in the past are to be commended for that, to make this happen. Also in those 11 years, I have, along with a few other board members, have suggested every year that we be more progressive and continue to move this district forward. And I think we have to bite the bullet and have our kindergartners go from 2 hours a day to a full day every day. And again, I think you heard some people talk about it, the need for it in their eyes. And not only did we feel this way, but in talking with our building principal, Mrs. Kasanovich, and some staff members, KN1, kindergarten and first grade, they also feel that there is a need to go full-time, not only for the educational aspects, but for the social and emotional reasons also. When I started in this business of education back in 1965, kindergarten was for the young ones, the kindergarten youngsters. It was more or less to get them used to coming to school, ride the school bus, go into the classroom, try to crayons keep inside the lines, moving the block, the square block into the square hole and all that kind of stuff, okay? And then you have a milk break and a cookie break. Then they had to roll out their mats and they would lay down and they would try to sleep for the rest of the periods. And then they get on the bus and go home. That was way back in 65 and things have changed. I mean, this educational system that we're in today has gone from one extreme to the other. Today, families have their children in daycare at an early age. Then in pre-K, preschool, sometimes they go 2 years doing it. Which today are doing what kids are doing in our kindergarten. They're doing a lot in the pre-K in a lot of these places, okay? So in a lot of cases, preschool is your new kindergarten. Kindergarten is your new first grade. First grade is your new second grade, and so on. Now, all other districts in Beaver County, surrounding districts like Moon, Quaker Valley, Elwood City, Southside, they are all ahead of our students because of their demands on the early intervention that they're putting on their kids in their districts. We are not on a level playing field with them. These other districts are challenging their students more at earlier grades than we are. Now, Ms. Balcastro said at the beginning that she taught first grade. She saw what was coming out of kindergarten into her first grade and how unprepared that they were. Okay, now you're talking about an educator. I don't know how many years, maybe 35 years she had in the business, okay? And myself, I'm an ex-guidance counselor. I was in elementary, I was in middle school, I was in high school, I was an elementary principal. And I saw, and both of us now have seen the need to move our district forward with all-day kindergarten. I have a daughter, she's 46 years old. And she went through this system that we are now using. Now, we may have tweaked it a little bit, and I'm sure there are people maybe listening that are virtual that are listening to us that are interested in this all-day kindergarten. And I'm sure they went to, and I know for a fact that some of those people went to our school district and went through this kindergarten. Now, their kids, and even their parents, some of their parents went, and I know one off the top of my head that went through this, and it was center, and it was run the same way it is now. I'm sure they tweaked it a little bit, through the years, but they're using the same system here at Central Valley that was used way back 40 some years ago, okay? Now, I'm sure there are people in the audience, that also have experienced this. So, here we are in the 21st century, and we're still going half a day here with our kids in kindergarten, while the other surrounding school districts with us and in our Beaver County are going full day. Now, 13 other superintendents and school boards have done the same research that we did as a committee here, a kindergarten committee that we formed. They did the same thing. Why spend the money? Is it really worth it? Whatever. So they did research, and they felt a need to go all day, every day, and felt spending the money because, again, I've talked with these people, and some of the other board members have talked with various people, whether it be board members, administrators, teachers, parents, etc. Okay? They felt it was well worth it to spend the money to educate their kids and give their kids a better opportunity at an early age. Now, there are 14 school districts in Beaver County. Now, what do you think of that? And we were the only district not going full time. And not to mention, as I said, the Quaker Valleys, the Moons, and so on that surround us, that's not in Beaver County. Also, 5 of these districts that have all day also now have their own pre-K programs with Freedom right now. I talked with their board members, a couple of their board members at Freedom. They're in a process right now evaluating to also do pre-K. Now, this is with their own teachers, their own curriculum, and are trying to move the bar higher for their young ones. Now, last year, when we as a committee did research of how many schools in Pennsylvania were going all day, you had 82% at that time when I checked, okay? That's 428 out of 500 districts in Pennsylvania. And we're not one of them that do not have, that do know if it has changed this year. I don't know. I don't know if it's changed. Now, that was in this, anybody wants to look it up, you're more than welcome. It's in the Kids Count Data Center, all right? That's the information. That's the research there. A couple of years ago, also checked and doing some reading, Canada did research in a survey to see if it was better or no different in all day versus half day. They followed 600 students that went half a day and followed 600 students that went half a day. This was done by a team of researchers from Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. They found that full day outperformed their peers who had attended half-day kindergarten. When data was gathered each year, full-day children were ahead in reading, number knowledge, writing, and in self-regulation. They also found that full-day children were more likely to achieve expectations in reading and in mathematics. Function skills such as working memory, cognitive, flexibility, and paying attention, following directions, were significantly greater for full-day kindergarten children than for half-day kindergarten children. Every year that they checked that, and they followed those kids, every year that they had the 600 that they would follow to make sure that their data was correct. The research and literature shows high-quality play in children's motivation, engagement, self-regulation with full day. San Francisco did the exact same thing, okay? And you can see here, city schools getting ready for all-day kindergarten. It's the San Francisco newspaper, all right? They did the same research and found that, they also found that all day was the way to go. Governor Gavin Newsom proposed a bill that will make it mandatory for that California schools go full day by 21-22. The National Education, the NEA, is focused on importance of full day kindergarten. Here's we could go through, this is all about it right here, okay? This is full day kindergarten from the NEA, National Education Association. They focus the importance of full day kindergarten as a strategy for closing the gaps. Why full day? Full day provides an essential bridge between pre-K and the primary grades. It enables children to develop the academic, social, and emotional skills they need to be successful. By laying a strong foundation, full-day kindergarten can boast students' performance, access, and attainment later on in school. National Education of New Mexico, their saying is, our central message was always an educational message. Full-day kindergarten provides long-term educational benefits, is an investment in the educational future of our children. New Mexico made it mandatory for all schools to go all day, every day. West Virginia made it mandatory in the early 1990s throughout the state that their kids will also go all day, every day. I've had this, as a lot of other people on this committee, the three board members, we've talked to ex-superintendents and current ones. Also the director at the IU, Dr. Rosendale, okay? He did his doctorate, a lot of it was on all day, everyday kindergarten. And all at the same time, a lot of these superintendents were principals at one time, and they worked in half a day, and they also worked in full day, all right? And every one of them, their opinion, no question, full day is the key with early childhood education is where it is in education today. Now, these are coming from people that experienced it, lived it, okay? One of these ex-superintendents that I talked with, he's working he's in a position that works for the state out of Harrisburg, that in fact, a lot of our administrators have gone to the classes that he had set up to help in making our administrators, and not only ours, throughout Pennsylvania, better administrators, okay? Now, he works close with the governor of Pennsylvania, Wolf. Until this virus hit, until this virus came about, he was in a process of pushing hard for early childhood education. He has been contemplating on making all-day kindergarten mandatory in Pennsylvania, like a lot of these other governors, all right? Now, just a question here. If this happens, if we don't do this, say, and all of a sudden, after this virus is taken care of, and he decides, he pushes it through and it gets through. And where are we then at that stage? What are we going to do? If we don't do this addition, and we don't add on, and we don't do the things what I feel that we should be doing, what is going to cost us at that time? And where are we going to have it at? Where are we going to do it at? If we can't find room now, what are we going to do if it's forced down our throat by the governor? Which is a very good possibility.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Other states where it was made mandatory.
Say it again.
In the other states where all-day kindergarten was made mandatory, was there funding available to the schools when it was made mandatory?
I can't answer that. I can't answer that question.
Just curious.
I know this. You have 13 school districts right here, Tom. I don't think anyone I talked with, I'm sorry, the superintendent at Black Hawk and Western Beaver, he found somebody wrote grants. Am I right, David? I think you might have also talked to him. The superintendent at Black Hawk and Western Beaver.
No.
Wasn't there some grants?
Right, grants. But there is money out there for early childhood development.
Okay.
But we get a grant as a school board, and Dr. Perry, correct me if I'm wrong, where we get a grant and you can pursue different areas within your education system.
That's how we're paying for full day kindergarten now.
Is that the way it works?
That's correct.
Okay, so they're saying there's some money out there?
We already utilize it.
Okay, so it's not enough to fund this, what we're going to do?
No.
Okay.
I was just curious, Mr.
I don't know that, and I don't know, maybe that'd be the next thing I could look up to try to find, okay? Now, as a board member, we get a lot of that, and you guys might have seen it, okay? And it was, I think it was yesterday. We get that PSBA information booklet on our iPad here. And just last night, the Office of the Government, our new Secretary of Education nominee, Dr. Miguel Cardona. I might be saying that right or wrong, I don't know, but that's close, I guess, Cardona. His statement: for far too long, we've spent money on interventions and Band-Aids to address disparities instead of laying a wide, strong foundation of quality, universal early childhood education and quality social and emotional support for our learners, especially in the kindergarten, the early intervention, preschool and kindergarten. So I get the impression by just reading that the new guy, if he gets nominated, it'll be a hell of a lot different than the lady that was there before. And maybe he'll force it if the governor doesn't do it, okay? Again, why push for more schooling, and is it necessary? Studies have shown the early years in education are critical. Education Week report on a study by the American Education Research Association, which found that students who are not reading proficiently by the 3rd grade are 4 times less likely to graduate high school by age 19. Other factors increase those odds, including poverty, which makes a student 13 times less likely to graduate. All right? A school day at Central Grange, we just talked about this. I wanted to correct it to make sure that I was right. A school day for Central Grange Elementary is 6.5 hours. Our so-called half-a-day students for a day is 2 hours on a good day. That means in 13 other school districts in Beaver County, their kindergarten students are getting 4 more hours or more of education. Social interaction, the arts, the specials, art, music, gym, computers, as it was shown up on the board when we were going through the feasibility study. And they're getting that, and our students are not. Our committee, our 4 members, our four board members, including myself, we feel that this is just not a level playing field for our kids. We're not being fair to our young ones and to our staff. They're working maybe 2-3 times harder than the other school districts because of the way we have our kindergarten set up. Now, with all that said, now what's been going on in our district, families, this has been touched on, okay? They want more education, social and emotionally adjustment, along with the arts for their children or child, and are looking for other alternatives. like full-day kindergarten. Now, they're sending their kids or children to PA Cyber, Our Lady of Fatima, Baden Academy, and maybe a private school. But what we know, and maybe some of the people that are virtual right now don't know, but it was covered by Dr. Perry. They should know now, let's put it that way. But we definitely know that every year we have at least 34 or so students that are going to Baden Academy, which starts with all-day kindergarten. And they like it there, they enjoy it there, and they stay there. And they finish it out, for the majority of them, through 6th grade, and maybe come back to our district after 6th grade. Now, families that go there do not have to pay for transportation or tuition. So it makes it real nice and easy to say, do it. Now, those kids that go there, they get in the lottery. They start with kindergarten. Because as I mentioned, Aliquippa, Ambridge gets first dibs on the number of students they send there. So we get a lottery. Like we have 12 go almost every year on an average. They are done by a lottery system. More kids would be in there from talking to parents, but they narrow it down just to 12. And as was shown, for a regular ed kid, it's around 11,000 some change. And for a special ed kid, 21,000. Now, the taxpayers of this district, you are paying $483,000 as of last year. And it was shown the last 5 years, how much we have been paid. Now, last year, we had 12 kids in Baden Academy, and we had 6 of them in Fatima because they don't want to go 2 hours a day. They want to go a full day for their kids. That's 18 students right there in kindergarten. That's a full class. Now, I don't know how true this is, okay? Now, I know I've talked just as of Monday, I talked to a board president that their school is really affected by Baden Academy. And not only Baden Academy, but a lot of charter schools. I talked to 2 board members also besides the president. Their solicitor has been doing an investigation in what's going on at Baden Academy and also the old Quigley High School. Right now, construction is going on at Baden Academy, not only for, one of the main things is they're adding on the villa there, and they're adding on a gym, a play area, and they're possibly adding on rooms for 7th and 8th grade. They've already talked with, PA Cyber has already talked with Quigley Catholic, and they're in the process of either leasing or buying, meaning PA Cyber, to either do a middle school or middle school, high school in the old Quigley High School. Now, if these youngsters of ours that are over there now like it and they want to stay across the river, they now, in a couple years, that might go through with that Quigley Quigley Catholic. If that does go through in a couple years, and we do nothing here to keep our kids in this district, not only are we going to be paying next year probably, all we need is 2 regular ed kids to go there next year, if this virus isn't around, or if 1 special ed kid goes over there, we're going to pay $500,000, and every year it goes up. Now, that's coming out of our taxpayers. That money should be staying here and help pay for what we are doing and thinking of doing for all-day kindergarten, and pay for that and help pay for it. Not that it's going to pay for everything, and not that it would pay for it right away, which I'm sure that Mr. Ambrose is going to talk about it, okay? So if half the kids went over there and stayed over there, say in 7th, 8th grade, that's about another $187,000 on top of the $500,000 that we're probably going to pay next year. Now, another thing that is going to come up and there's two things have come up in discussion. One is, and it may come up again, is that there's information out there saying that by the time a kid gets to third grade, that they're all reading and writing and doing whatever at the same level. Now, experiencing it, somebody lived it, and Miss Bellicastro, we do not agree with that. Am I right, Ms. Bellicastro? Let me ask you, Ms. Kasanovich, would you buy these, let's say the other districts versus our district? If the kid gets to third grade, is it a level playing field? Are our kids reading and writing and doing the arithmetic as the other kids that are getting 4 more hours a day, do you think?
No, not all kids are getting it across the board, even just in our district.
Right. And then not every kid.
Look at all at the test scores to see how we compare to, I know there's districts that are above us that have all-day kindergarten, but there are also districts below us that have all-day kindergarten. So I guess that would be not someone's opinion, but look at the data to say, do you have those numbers as a committee? Did you put that together?
No. Common sense would just tell me.
That's not common sense, Mr. Ross. That's research that should be done as part of this committee.
Okay, so you're saying then to me, Mr.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see how we compare.
Okay.
I mean, that's.
Okay, so I'm just saying to you, I'm questioning you. As you questioned me, I'm going to question you. So you're thinking, what I'm thinking, hearing you say, is these other districts that are going 4 more hours a day, 4.5 more hours a day than our kids, that we would be on the same playing field with them. You feel that?
I'd like to see what the data says compared to other districts.
Okay.
Similar districts.
All right, okay, but so maybe.
That would be.
Well, maybe somebody in this district, maybe somebody in this district should probably maybe do that.
PSSA scores have been very, very publicly presented to not only this board, but to the public throughout every year the PSSA results have come out, every year. And there was obviously the COVID and the assessment thing now has put a bit of a stall in that. But all of our PSSA scores and where we rank up against the rest of the county are very, very, very publicly available, that information.
And it was my opinion that we were improving every year, and we were improving within the county every year, whether we have all-day kindergarten or not. Our district has been excelling.
Well, I'll say
that's my impression of the information we've gotten up to this.
I'll say that this community have been apprised of our rankings across the county every year that assessment scores go out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have to say this, and that's a tribute to the administration and to our faculty. That when we first were on this board, our test scores were very low. Okay. And we were showing, okay, and obviously we're trying to be positive about it. That whoever was presenting the test score, we're coming up maybe one point, this point, but we made a drastic change, I have to admit. And that's, like I said, that's because administration said, we ain't gonna let that happen. Of course, even going back to, and I know a board member that whenever 3 superintendents ago, where there was a board member that told the superintendent, this ain't gonna happen anymore when test scores come out. I don't know, Dave, were you on the board at that time? Okay. But right after that, it started to get better. Not good, but better. And then with our current administration and so on, I think Dr. Perry has done a great job with staff, and staff has bought into what we want, and we've done extremely well. But we were so low, we had nowhere to go but up at the time, okay? And we've consistently been there. So yeah, I buy that. I say that we're probably there. But do I feel as an educator, no statistics, I don't have that in front of me. Do I feel that our kids are on the same playing field with the districts that are going all day, every day and getting 4 more hours a day? Ms. Belcastro, an ex-educator, myself, and our building principal, 3 people that have been in the business, we're saying no. Now, do we have, I don't have it unless Mrs. Kasanovich has it. I don't. I can't argue that point. But and common sense is telling me that, just from living it, being in the business. It'd be just like anything else. If I spend 4 more hours than you in something else, I should get better and be better. Whether it's shooting a basketball, hitting a baseball, whatever, okay? Math, somebody teaching me, somebody sitting there and instructing me in certain areas of whatever I'm low in, I should get better and better than the person that's not getting that. Now, the other thing that might come up, because it's a big item, if we do this addition onto the Center Grange, not only for the classrooms, is to add a gymnasium. Question has come up. Is it needed? All right. As Mr. Bloom said, I observed this, okay? This goes back to maybe you saying, well, you know, statistics and so on. I witnessed this, Tom. We have a music class going on with a partition across it. We have a gym class going on here, and we have cafeteria going on the other side. So we have our cafeteria, we have gymnasium and music going on at the same time in the elementary, which is newest building built in this district next to the renovation, obviously, to Todd Lane. Every other school district, every other school that we have has a separate cafeteria and a separate gym. Those teachers, that staff, our principal, and those kids are not being treated equal with what's going on over there. Right now with the curriculum, the virus that is COVID going around, we can't even have gym class there because the cafeteria tables are down with the partitions up, okay, with the plexiglass. So the teacher now is giving gymnasium in classrooms where you have desks, chairs, glass, windows, etc. Okay? What's the most you can do in there? Push-ups, sit-ups, I don't know. I don't know what that, and God bless that teacher, you know, and then maybe Mrs. Kasanovich can get on and tell you a little bit more. But to me, that's not quality education, okay? And to take away that from our youngsters that start at that early age and just turn your back on it and say, you don't need it, but these other schools do, you don't. I don't think that's fair. That's why, and then as Mr. Bloom had mentioned to some extent, that whenever plays, musicals, etc., you can't use the gym sometimes because of the gymnasium. Or Mrs. Kasanovich say, there's no gym today because, and no music today because of. Well, you know, rather than me talk about this, Mrs. Kasanovich, how about you explain the need that why we feel there's a need for another gymnasium?
You both touched on that there is a need for extra space just because we do have to, may not cancel a class, but we'll push it into the classroom, like you said, is happening now because of COVID. We will do those things, yes. And we are out of space. We really are. So we could use extra space. Then the gym would be a good path. We would need that.
Now, would it help with the cafeteria if we had another gym and the gym class was there, and then we put more kids in the cafeteria and feed them more and get through quicker, better? Is it a better situation?
We would have to go through and talk about the lunch lines and how many kids can go through at a time. But yes, we can put more students in the gym or in the cafeteria if it's just a cafeteria, yes.
Okay. Now, and I don't know, John, are you on there, John?
Yeah, he's here. He's on my cell phone.
Okay. I am. John, is the addition for that gymnasium 2.5 million or 3 million?
Well, we actually have the numbers broken out in the presentation coming up.
Do you want him to present it?
What's that?
He has a presentation.
He has it on the presentation.
Where? I missed it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can. It's coming up.
It's coming up. Oh, I'm sorry. It's coming up. Okay. I think I missed that. But okay, let's say it's 3 million. I'm just going to guess at that just for discussion's sake.
Yes, that's correct.
It has been taught. There's talk saying, well, if you do this renovation, don't put the gym on. We could do that at a later date. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know how much money I have on me or my house. I'll tell you, I'll be willing to bet you it ain't going to happen. You can say you're going to do it, but once you walk away, it's like having somebody come to your house and then they finish a project and that construction guy leaves. They don't come back to fix whatever. Or if it's 3 million today, John, you correct me if I'm wrong, John. I'm going to guess. 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, okay? What's it going to cost for that 3 million this year, right, whenever we do this project, 3 million? What would it cost 5 years, 4 years down the road?
Well, escalation's hard to really determine right now. The pandemic has put things into a tailspin, but we usually estimate between 3 and 5% per year. However, at the conclusion of the pandemic, cost will increase very rapidly. When that will happen, we don't know.
And did you not also say at one time, John, that you have seen it go as far as 12%?
It has during natural disasters or a big financial crisis. There have been spikes in the construction industry that are realized in very short periods of time that are significant. It can be.
Well, it's going to go up. It's going to go up quite a bit, right?
It will only go up.
Yeah. And so when you're talking 3 million today, you might talk 6, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million down the road. If you even get to that point of adding it on, because now you're still talking about doing 2 other schools. Whether you build a new school or you renovate both schools. Now, you think you're going to take any money away from them and put it into a new gym? If you don't do it now, it ain't going to happen. In my opinion, it won't happen. So while we get the interest rates low and we are going to go through a major, if we do this, if it's voted to do it, if we go through this, this is the time to do it. Because you heard our building principal, we could definitely use it. We, Mr. Bloom, myself, I witnessed 3 things going on in one area. And we do not have a separate gym and cafeteria for the only school in our district. Doesn't make sense to me. Why aren't we treating that elementary school the same as the other 3?
Thank you.
Now, I've spoken enough. I think Ms. Belcastro, you're ready to hit the ground.
Thank you.
I see you with that gavel in your hand.
I was getting there.
Okay. All right, but I thought it was important to talk about what I said.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I took too much and bored people, not only here, but at home. So let's move on.
Mr. Padilla or Mr.
Okay, so if I can try to maybe just bring this back where we are, where we were, where we are, where we're going. So started out the evening by going through the feasibility study to let the public know what was done originally to determine what kind of needs the board felt the district had with regards to construction projects in all of our buildings. Followed that up with a presentation, our best guess estimate as to what it would take in order to create a kindergarten program at Center Grange and what kind of staffing impact we feel that that's going to have. The next piece of this is our architect, John Badia and Crabtree, met with, and he can walk through the process, in essence, met with the kindergarten committee, met with members of the administration, and talked about wants and desires with regards to addition to that building in order to provide Mrs. Kasanovich everything that she needs over there to be successful. So he's going to go through the process that was done to determine potentially what renovations might look like, and then he'll provide you a cost for what those renovations are. John, I'm going to the slide that says process, conceptual floor plan, site plan. And when you're ready for us to move to the next slide, just ask me, please.
Okay, I've still got video so I can follow along with what Ed's advancing. Audio better on the phone?
I believe so. I think the public can hear you well.
All right, great. So thanks, Dr. Perry. At the previous presentations that Dr. Perry was providing was at a facility study level, so it's fairly high level. As the kindergarten program gained more interest and at the desire of the board, we work with the administrative team to go through a fairly detailed process to zero in on what would that addition look like. So we had several internal meetings. We've met with the administrative team, principals, facilities. We've developed a conceptual floor plan and also took a first pass at a site concept and then developed a preliminary cost estimate. We have some alternates that could be considered. And then we were asked to take a look at a timeline. So these are all the pieces of essentially like a schematic design effort. Next, please.
Go to the next slide.
So here's a listing of the groups that we met with. This was a programming effort. We went into great length of talking with superintendent, principal, and the board, all the support and special services, art, music, PE, technology, library. There was a food service meeting with a food service consultant and the district staff. Our engineering team, Tower Engineering, who is a consultant to Crabtree Rurrball, also talked and met and walked through the building, looked at technology. We did another look at enrollment and capacity. We also had Slater Engineering from a civil engineering perspective, look at what the development of the Center Grange site would permit, what issues are there with potential traffic, parking, and just the constructability of the addition. We started to identify a couple of alternates, and we pulled a cost together to share with the board at this given presentation, which I think was September of this past year. Next.
Next slide.
So our first exercise in the programming effort was to first clearly look at how the building was being utilized during the academic year 1920. So this was our exercise going through with the principal and the administrative team, identifying every single space and how it's currently being utilized and what the grades are.
Okay, next.
So here's the first floor plan concept. The new construction is essentially highlighted in color. The bulk of the existing building is just shown in black and white. And we looked at this from two perspectives. The classroom area, the academic spaces, represents about a 16,000 square foot addition that's necessary to meet the program. The gymnasium and its support spaces, lobby, restrooms and storage, and some small bleacher seating constitutes about 10,000. So the entire footprint is approximately 26,000 square feet. As the addition and the program was developed in this concept, we looked to try to connect the two academic wings to create a loop that would facilitate students and staff moving more freely through the building. We simply did not want to just put additions on the end of each of the three buildings. It's also more costly when you do that. So we thought that this was a cost-effective approach. It's all one-story construction and works fairly well. There is an impact with the gymnasium footprint and the kindergarten classroom to the soccer field, the playground, and there's an underground irrigation system that has to be evaluated further.
So John, when you talk about the existing program or accommodating the program, and I'm looking at the map, just for those folks who are not familiar, the orange area, the blue area, all that is new construction. That would be additional kindergarten classrooms, additional special ed classrooms, bubble spaces for future enrollment increases, so on and so forth, correct?
Correct. A small group, gifted, special ed, correct. All of those spaces.
And that's about 16,000 square feet of new construction. And then down where it's purple, that would be a potential new gymnasium, which is about 10,000 square feet of new construction.
Correct.
Ready for the next slide?
I am. If we
Next
are,
slide,
let's go.
please.
So here is the impact to the drop zone. When you drop the gymnasium, which is the most ideal location to put it for community use and access. Obviously, locating the gymnasium in the very far back of the building would not be doable. This helps facilitate traffic flow. What you're seeing in red is a revised and expanded parking lot that would permit drop-off and sufficient queuing so that either vehicles or buses could sufficiently drop and queue off of Center Grange Road and help with the traffic pattern. So the gymnasium has a significant impact to the site. If you can see behind it, that is where one of the current drop load areas are. We did expand the parking to a total of about 50 spaces. And again, we know that this is going to interfere with the underground irrigation system, and further investigation is going to have to be done to determine that extent. But this was the civil engineer's assessment on the site. And getting access, you can see there's a continuous walkway that would allow you, when students are dropped off, to walk on the sidewalk unobstructed without crossing traffic and get into the existing network of sidewalks, and then also into that new proposed lobby that would serve the gym. So this is just the concept.
Okay.
Next
slide.
So in terms of cost, we broke it into two categories because we wanted to keep the construction of the classroom wing and all the academic spaces separate from the gymnasium, just for purpose of discussion. So again, the new construction for the academic area wing at about 16,000 square feet is about a $3.6 to $4.2 million construction cost. Gymnasium at 10,000 square feet is going to be a higher dollar per square foot. It's a higher volume space. It's 2 stories. That range is about 2.7 to 3.2. So in addition to the construction cost and site cost, there are other related costs to arrive at a total project cost of $8.2 to $9.8 million. They include fees, permits, approvals, construction contingencies, and testing and inspection. So we provided the board with a comprehensive estimate of what that cost would be. This particular project would not be reimbursable. The PlanCon is in a moratorium, and that project is no longer reimbursable.
So unlike the feasibility study numbers that we presented at the beginning of the evening, those were baseline numbers when we originally did that feasibility study. That did not include any of those additional costs on a soft cost, so on and so forth. This is a comprehensive number.
Right, and I think too, Dr. Perry did not include the gymnasium at that time. That wasn't being contemplated, so that's a $2.5 to $3 million decision alone. And I think, as you had said earlier, the PlanCon applications are still alive for the middle school and high school. However, they do expire in July of 2021 based on the current legislative action that's been taken. So the project as we're looking at is roughly between 8.5 and 9.8 million.
Okay, you ready to go to the next one?
Next. Yep.
So, Mr. Ross, you brought this up earlier. Another thing, potentially look at some alternative bid items. If we are going to do renovation to Center Grange, there are systems that are aging. And if we were going to do work there, now would be the time to consider upgrading the systems that are currently in place. And then go ahead, John, I'll let you speak to that as well.
Dr. Perry, can we go back one slide just for a question?
Yes.
The bottom line of construction-related costs and soft costs.
Yes.
Whether we do the gymnasium or not, those remain the same, or are they different if we?
Piecemeal.
So John, the question is with the construction related cost and the soft costs. How much of a difference is there if you do the gym versus don't do the gym?
Okay, it's a good question. Generally, there's about, the soft cost and construction related costs can vary between 18 to 22%. So we can break that out separately moving forward. But I think what we were looking at is, and the idea of an alternate is to design all of that program and then see where the bids come in on bid day. That's really the beauty of an alternate. That'll allow the board to say, we are in a position that we can accept that financially, and you simply accept the alternate. If you feel that there are other issues with budgets, pandemic, other work needed in the district, and you do not want to do that, you could accept the base bid, which would be the academic wing, and still proceed with the project. So the way we could design it and bid it would allow the board some flexibility. And honestly, that decision doesn't need to be made now, but because we could design it in such a way that it could be isolated without delaying the other project. You would wait till the bids are actually received.
You missed the question. The line items of construction related costs, 716,000 and soft cost of almost 2. Are those costs the same, or is that include both the classroom wing and the gymnasium? If you would opt to do just the classroom, are you still spending 1.2 in soft costs, or is it roughly half of that?
Yeah, so the way this estimate is built, it is assuming both. So the construction related and the soft cost are taking the academic wing and the gymnasium together. So if you only did the classroom wing, yes, it would be reduced proportionally.
Okay, we good?
Yep, that's what I needed. Thank you.
Next slide again.
So, while Center Grange is clearly the most recent of buildings that the district's constructed new, there are other issues due to the date of construction and just from a data and technology side, what was done 12 to 15 years ago has changed dramatically. So we work with the engineers and ed and technology group to identify a list of other possible alternates. And I want to point out this second item. There was a significant change in the statewide building code that was adopted in October of 2019. Some of these suggestions were put forth as a result of that, but the data and technology is fairly significant for the entire building, because from the time the board would say go on a project like this until construction's complete, Center Grange systems will be nearly 20 years old, if not slightly older. There clearly were some door access and control issues that the district has been systematically changing as you go through, and renovate buildings that you would probably want to address because it's cost effective to do it at the same time of a larger project. The sloped roof and the asphalt shingle, that was an aesthetic thing. There is a performance related item to it. A positive sloping roof will always get the water off of it. A metal roof is an upgrade to the asphalt shingle. And you can see there's a premium there of about $125,000 to $190,000. The water source heat pumps throughout the building, they have a life cycle of about 15 years. So little by little, they start to fail, and they are failing. The engineers walk through the building and have identified, again, because of the nature of the construction of the addition, if the district were to consider replacing the heat pumps in the remainder of the building. This cost does not have to be done with the project, but you will be replacing these heat pumps. They are beginning to fail. They have about a 15-year life cycle, and you're basically at that point right now. The fire alarm system and the integrated voice system is an impact of the IBC International Building Code change that was adopted. And then an audio-visual system for the gymnasium was an alternate that we looked at. Is it absolutely required? No. If you want to use that space for more than one purpose, that would be something to consider. So we've populated a list of additional alternates that could be bid. That then brings the total project cost, including, if you accept all the alternates, of about 9.8 to 12 million.
Okay, any questions? Next slide.
I think that's our timeline. So based on an occupancy of fall of 2023, we would look for an authorization from the board sometime in August of 2021, which shows the planning and design and approval process will take about 8 months, a little longer, maybe a little bit shorter, but not significantly. But then you see in gray, after the project is bid and award, it's about a 13-month project. And then all work could be complete by the end of summer 2023. Now, obviously, if you don't do the gymnasium, you see highlighted in red, I think the academic wing and the site work could be done in probably 10 or 11 months. But when you add the gymnasium, the additional 10,000 square feet, possibly 13 or 14 months. A lot of that's predicated on weather and when we start. But this would be an ideal time to bid the project and start construction as soon as the kiddos leave the building in June of 2022. So this was the initial time scenario that we explored with the board.
Do we have any costs in there for clerk of the works?
He asked whether or not we put any cost there for clerk of the works. I believe we did that, John. Am I correct?
We did.
Mr. Pear, I have a question. Is it for John? The prices that are given now for these estimations of the price to build this place, is that with the COVID prices? Because I know you can't get a lot of material right now.
So, Doctor, I don't know if you heard Dr. Eunice or not, but he was asking about your estimates and question about COVID pricing based on the fact that you may have trouble getting materials now based on, where we are with everything.
Sure. It's been quiet in the construction industry. We have not bid any major projects, but we are actually starting to receive bids. I took bids today on a small project. We're taking bids on a $25 million new school on Tuesday. We're very anxious to see what the climate looks like, but on the new elementary school that we're receiving bids on Tuesday, we have 12 general contractors. I haven't had 12 general contractors on a project upwards of $100 million in my entire career. I don't think I've ever had 12 general contractors on any project we've bid. So that in itself is very, very competitive. What we are anticipating, material costs are going to be higher. Plants were shut down. Lumber is significantly higher. EPDM rubber is suspect. So we need to start receiving more bids, which is why we're showing a range at this point. And then as we would move through the process, we would fine tune that and really see what the contractors feel are adjustments that need to be made in their bid for COVID and so forth.
So could we see the prices actually go down, say, in 2 or 3 years from now, because everything settles down, people are back to work and manufacturers are building more furnaces, air conditioners, producing material?
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but honestly, I think the bell curve, the downward curve is going to be now. A factor of seeing 12 general contractors bid a project is unheard of. The competition is going to be very, very tough. Contractors are anxious to build backlog, so I think we're going to see right now, if this project were bidding today, I would say you're going to be closer to the $9 million side. As things go up, it's hard to say how quickly they'll increase. They very well could sustain themselves, but we know that we're going to see, and the indicators are lower cost right now temporarily. We just don't know how long that's going to start to turn upward.
But you're talking about labor. I'm talking about material.
Yeah, material costs have been impacted by COVID. Labor, some contractors not able to sustain their workforce have had significant reductions in labor. So we're worried a little bit about workmanship and availability of skilled craftsmen to, tin knockers to get in the field to do HVAC ductwork is tough to find. That in itself could raise labor also. But we really need to see a couple of projects bid here in the next few weeks to see, because everything basically shut down last 7 months.
Mr. Padilla, this is Dave Ambrose. Correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, when we did the Todd Lane project, did we not expect more bids and more people bidding out pieces of that? And we were a little disappointed because the shell plant, where they were gearing up for here, and contractors, some of them were stepping away. But the expectation, I think, because again, you're not going to bring people in from Harrisburg or Easton, PA or whatever. We're talking about River City here. So consequently, the workforce may be more available when the time comes for us to do it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's possible. Sure.
Any other questions on the construction piece?
Mr. Padilla, this is Tom Moad. Right now, there's not a lot of people lining up to take advantage of the low bond rates. You're saying there's not a lot of jobs coming through right now? You're not?
Well, the projects that we had a number of projects that were almost ready to go to bid, and a lot of school districts had to pull back because of the budget impact of COVID and schools closing. So we didn't have the opportunity to bid them. However, some districts did proceed. Blue Mountain School District, Northern Lebanon, that were doing new schools, but they were like May and June authorizations. So they won't be bidding until February or March.
But they had already planned this. They were already in process of planning. It's not like they're saying there's low bond rates, so we're going to take advantage of that right now.
Well, the two examples I gave you actually are as a result of the bond rates. Northern Lebanon was sitting on a project for quite some time, and PlanCon reimbursement is so far removed from the state getting money into the budget. Their opportunity, their analysis was, because of the bond rates and the borrowing, it actually was a better scenario than getting the state's reimbursement over a 20-year period. So they elected to proceed with their project based on the bond rate, and they're building a $45 million, 1,400 student elementary school and consolidating a number of schools. So the bond rate has triggered some districts. Now that the dust has somewhat settled from the pandemic, the first and second quarter of this year are going to be very, very busy.
So you've seen one or two up to this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's, Mr. Padilla, for example, just say a wish list or whatever. If we were to vote this in next Thursday night, and the following meeting in February approve a bond issue in February, what does that do for your timeline that you just showed us?
Well, it would certainly move it up. I think we wouldn't be able to, say, capture all 3 months of the summer, because the longest leadway item is not the design process, it's the approval. And land development is the longest approval. That in itself can take 8 to 9 months. So you'd be looking potentially at starting construction in August or September. And then it's questionable how quickly foundations could get in the ground before. So You would definitely move the timetable up. And now you're going to finish, if you advance, Ed, if you want to go back a slide, you'll see that you'll end up finishing 4 or 5 months earlier. And, you know, for a full day kindergarten program, that might not be a benefit, for instance, to finish and turn the project over in January or February of 2023, but it won't move it up a year. Does that make sense?
Yes. If you're still going to be on the line when I give my presentation in about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll have a discussion with you about these current bond rates. I don't want to do that right now. We're going to let Mr. Maley give his presentation.
Understood. Sure.
Are we ready for that? Okay, so the next piece, go to the business plan slide, please. Mr. Malley and myself did an analysis. The board, we constantly update the board on 5-year projections on where we think we are as a district with regards to financing. We do it multiple times throughout the year as things continue to change. I believe that if you look at our history with regards to our audits, I think it's fair to say that our numbers are usually dead on with regards to where we think we are financially. This next piece is going to be an analysis of where we believe the district currently is with regards to fund balance, where we project out over the next several years with regards to loss or surplus. And then after that, we put in placeholders for the salaries of the staff that was presented earlier when we talked about the number of kindergarten teachers and special ed, Title I, paras, so on and so forth, as well as the benefits that are tied to that. We also put money in for the financing of a bond to potentially cover the $9 to $12 million construction project, depending on the amount of construction that the board would decide to do. You're also going to see a tuition savings in here based on the current Baden Academy numbers. If we were to start pulling kids back out of Baden Academy, you'll see a total expense. And then you'll get a revised look at a fund balance based upon the expenses that would be associated with the potential for a full day kindergarten program. So John, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, let's look at the numbers here. If we could focus in on that solid black line, just the 2 rows above it, okay? That is our current 5-year projection, as Dr. Perry's stated, that we continually update. So our current fund balance is $2,296,000. You can see that on the far left-hand side. For the next 4 years, our operating margin continually gets better. It goes from $248,000 to $714,000, which then affects our fund balance, which it also grows. So it goes from 2.2 million all the way out to the year 4 of $4,430,000. So those numbers are just from operations. Okay, so surplus is getting better. Fund balance is growing.
Mr. Malley, that's including the maximum tax increase that we can take as we committed as a board to cover the costs of the Todd Lane renovation.
In each one of those years, Tom, there is the maximum to the index millage increase, which is, we've been averaging about 2.5 mils a year. Also, if we're eligible for index, which has been slowly going away. And the other thing is the growth on the assessed value for real estate taxes, we typically put in 1%, Tom. Okay. And I just looked back today, and from 2017 through 2022, just looking at Center Township, the assessed value, our average assessed value increase is 1%. So that just shows you that what we've been saying every year, that we put into growth, and it's averaging what we thought it would be, even with all this new development.
So you've built in growth and you've built in the tax increase that we've already committed to.
Correct.
To make sure we're aware that we've already committed to a maximum tax increase to cover Todd Lane.
Correct. Okay. Okay, now we're going to apply the numbers that the committee supplied to me. We're looking at salaries, benefits, financing costs, some tuition savings. So if you go down and see the total expense line of $1,039,728 in year one. So you can see that that line averages about $1 million a year of additional expenses for this program. Okay? So you take that $1 million and you have to net it against our surplus on the top, very top line. So you can see now, instead of being a surplus, you can see those red numbers down below, deficit with Center Grange addition. So by adding $1 million a year, our surplus has gone from 248 in year one to a deficit of 791 in year one. And you follow that for 4 years, and you could see the deficit goes from 791 to 261. Now, the reason the deficit is less, because on top, our surplus from operating margin is greater. Okay? So by adjusting, by adding that to our financials, you can see now the very bottom line, our revised fund balance with the Center Grange addition, 2.296, 1.926, 1,481,000, 1,083,000, and 822,000. So by the numbers that were given to me, adding about $1 million expense per year, you can see that our fund balance goes from 2,296,000 in the roads down to $822,000.
Yes.
Is there any questions on that?
Yes, couple if I may.
Okay.
The tuition savings, an estimate?
Okay, tuition savings that's an estimate. All you can do is assume, which is a bad word. The bottom line is, in year one, we're just saying, instead of those 12 kindergartners going to Baden Academy, they would stay home. Okay.
So,
and we would do that each year. Now, this does not affect other grades. It only affects kindergarten people.
okay.
So you're assuming 100% return.
Yes.
Yes.
And basically,
Only kindergarten, Tom.
because I was involved in this, let me jump in here, John, for a moment. I've contacted a number of parents that basically had sent their kids there. And I asked them the question, if we had our own resources here, would you still send your child to Baden Academy? And they said, obviously, we don't want our kid on a 45-minute bus ride, okay? In respect to that, they would send their kids there. So we kept the kids in the kindergarten class who went on to second, third grade. We kept them there because they make friends and they stay there. But we just took the 12 kids that we are allotted each year, lottery, and we just took the 12 kids out.
So, Mr. Ambrose, for data purposes,
Yes,
best case scenario is what we see.
yes.
Worst case scenario would be adding the tuition savings to the deficit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just,
And again, keep in mind, George, all this is hypotheticals, not only on my part, on the school district's part, on Mr. Malley's part. These are all assumptions and projections.
completely just want to make sure that I understand the data, that our best case scenario with this is the numbers that are existing in red, and our worst case, we would add the 2 to 300, almost 400,000 to deficit.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Mr. O'Neill has one.
O'Neill.
Are you assuming tuition savings at the rates these people are paying at Baden Academy?
Each one is, a regular student is about $12,000 to $13,000.
Yeah.
And a special ed,
5 and 21, 827.
yes.
My question is, what are our costs to educate these children? Because we're not going to save this much money. We still have to pay X amount of money to educate these children. What are our costs for regular ed and special ed?
I think one of the ones that would jump out right away would be the salaries and benefits
Right.
that you're paying staff to run these programs.
Right.
So you're looking at least $1 million a year in staffing, and then you're looking at another $330,000 in construction cost bonds. So, I mean, you're looking at, $1.3, $1.4 million a year in costs to run that program.
Right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you're not going to save $21,827 for each special ed student because you have some costs here. What do we pay to educate a special ed student, notwithstanding the cost of staff?
But we're only looking at kindergarten children.
I understand.
Those kindergarten children, that's the cost right there, $1 million.
I would never make the assumption of a best case scenario, but I'm okay with putting a best case scenario in here. Like I think this is the best case we can get out of it, and I'm okay with that. That's not how I would typically do, and so I would maybe do 50% or base it on what we got back when we put in our cyber program. How many cyber kids did we get back? I mean, I think that would probably be a truer number, but I'm fine with having.
Well, the cyber kids do not have anything to do with this study.
No, but I'm just saying, when we put in a cyber program, how many PA cyber kids did we get?
We did get kids back. We didn't get them all back, but we got kids back.
Yeah, but that would probably be a truer number, but I'm fine with like looking at this as a best case scenario. I think that's okay, in my opinion.
But they're not going to get 100%.
Anybody else?
No.
Anybody else? I do believe.
Please leave that up there, okay, if I'm going to speak next. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mel, are you done?
Mr. Melly, are you done?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, for the people looking at this virtually, my name's Dave Ambrose, and I serve as the finance chairperson for the Central Valley School. I want to preface one thing before I begin. First of all, I apologize. I don't have something real cute up there like that. I don't have the AV technology thing. So if anybody wants copies of my presentation after we're done, I can mail you a copy. Second thing is, I'm going to be potentially poking holes at this. And it's not a personal thing, because I think everybody on this board understands the way I feel about Mr. Maley and the work that Dr. Perry do to run a school district. They're high on my list. So I'm going to ask you not to take it personally. First and foremost, and I know it's been repeated a number of times, I'd like to thank Superintendent Dr. Nick Perry, Business Manager Mr. Maley, Mr. Badia, the architect, Principal Carla Kasanovich, Special Ed Director Aaron Park, and members of the All-Day Kindergarten Committee. These individuals spent nearly 18 months working on desirability and practicability for all-day kindergarten. While the majority of those never doubted the need, it comes down to the bottom line why we're all here tonight. How are we going to pay for it? Please allow me to give you a couple facts. As the finance chair, and I want to be transparent about this, I was voted down by two of my colleagues here who did not agree with me approximately 3 months ago on the ability to pay for this potentially $11 million plus project. As a matter of fact, they felt that the kindergarten project would financially strap the Central Valley School District, I apologize, in 4 to 5 years based on the 5-year projection or the hypothetical listed on the screen. Personally and professionally, I disagree. A lot has changed since that meeting, but the majority of the content is actual, fairly actual, but there are a number of assumptions, just like Mr. Zaritsky just said. The biggest factor, and we covered already, is losing the kids to Baden Academy. And I'm going to skip a paragraph here because we know that we've had approximately 34 students and you've got the numbers here. But the bottom line is 6 years ago, we paid Baden Academy $353,020. And in school year 2019-2020, a total of $483,101, which has been an average increase of approximately $26,000 per year. If the 5-year projection, you see the tuition savings that we just talked about if all the kindergarten kids do not go back, do not choose to go there. Let's take a closer look at the 5-year projection. We currently are in the base year. In the base year up there, that means based upon our fiscal year, that ends June 30th. So that ends June 30th, and year one goes from July 1 to June 30th the following year. So I don't want anybody being confused. It's a 5-year projection. Right now, what we're looking at is 4.5 years. Fair enough? So with that being said, if we decided to kick the can down the road or a situation where we can't start the project till 2022, make it available for 2023. Obviously, looking at these numbers, we're going to save $547,744 plus the fringe benefits of $375,000. I think that's $354. So it gives us time, because I'm going to spend a couple minutes telling you about what's coming down the pike in some real numbers, okay? And that's coming in the area of single-family dwellings here in Center Township. I currently sit on the Planning Commission in Center, and I'm privy to all the real estate developments. For openers, we've got Miranda on Monaca Road, 12 lots and or houses built. They're going to open up 63 lots this year. Lakeview Farms, which is across the street from Center Grange, has 83 lots available for senior living patio homes. And the water, the sewer, and the temporary roads are in currently. There's a hilltop plan located at the corner of Elkhorn and Center Grange, right across the street from Beaver Creek Apartments. They will be doing some grading late spring with the ability to put up 45 lots for sale. The Bluffs at Glade Run, located behind the mall, is currently working to sell 40 more lots with the other 40 completed for townhouses. That's a total of 231 single-family dwellings or townhouses that will be under construction and hopefully completed in the next 4 years. The average home should be between 300,000 to 350, taking into consideration that some of the townhouse will sell for 220,000, while some homes will be at 400,000 and more. And some people may sit here and say, 400,000 or more. If you look at the Miranda plan, just as an example on Monaca Road, there's a couple people in there that paid over 400,000 and one at 500,000. If I do the math for the common level ratio, which determines the arithmetic median for each Pennsylvania, I can give you about what the average taxpayer will pay in school taxes in the future. The common level ratio for Pennsylvania is 18.1. So if we take that number and multiply, say, by a $350,000 home, and that gives you a total of $63,350 times our millage rate. And John, I think it's 61.98. Is that correct? Okay. Or a $3,926 school tax bill. If we assume, and we all have been assuming tonight, if we assume that all 231 lots are sold and built on, whether it's in year 2, year 4, whatever, but let's say at the end of 4 years, they're all sold and built on, we're looking at revenue of $906,906 each and every year from what's going on right now in the projects I listed. There's more. I spoke to a member of the Potter Township Planning Commission this week, and what looked like a dead end 3 months ago looks like it's going to come to fruition. And George, you and I have had this discussion, okay? The people involved are apparently changed their plans and gone back with the revisions according to the ordinance. And they were granted preliminary approval for that construction site in Potter. They're looking at anticipating homes out there at 500,000 and up with approximately 57 more lots. I have chose not to use this plan as a hypothetical until final approval is completed. If so, it's icing on the cake. And finally, in closing, the assumption shows a bond financing payment of $330,000, which represents 3% on $11 million. Are you still with us, Mr. Padilla?
I am.
I talked to a bond financing company from Pittsburgh today. Today, they had a closing for a 25-year bond at 2.2%. We are at historic lows. Now, you also run the risk because if you sign up for a bond today and it takes 60 days to the closing, you may be off 10 basis points, 25 basis points. But let me just share with you a few of these numbers. At 3%, it's 330,000, which is in that figure right there under finance. If we get it at 275, it's 302,500. And if we get it at 2.5, which I still think we have a chance to do that, it's 275,000. Do you realize that's a $55,000 savings per year or $220,000 over 4 years? So when I'm throwing these things in here, John, it's not necessarily to poke holes in your progress report here or 4 or 5 year projection. It's things that I found out in the last couple months that I'm sharing with the board members tonight. Here's the other thing. The clock is ticking because time is money. And I think we know all about that. So the quicker we move to do something on this, the more savings it's going to be for me. But I must share one other situation. You know, I spent a lot of time down in the assessment office the last couple of weeks, as you can see. By 2023, the fall of 2023, everybody in Beaver County is going to have a new tax bill under the current reassessment. You don't believe or think that Beaver County is going to spend $8 million for a reassessment where they're going to lose money. This is going to put more money in our tax revenue. I think everybody knows what I do, okay? I would be willing to go online and say, I think we can do this project, okay? And quite frankly, it's coming. All this is coming. This isn't made up. The fact that these developments, if you care to sit down with Frank Vecchio, the chairman of the Planning Commission, almost all these people have received preliminary or final approval. We are ready to go. And we're not talking 2 new homes, 5 new homes. We're talking land development. Let me give you another example. Look at the center exit. You see that building going up out there? That building, which is a surgery center, they put over $10 million into that. What do you think the taxes are going to be on something like that? It's going to be in the tens of thousands. I worked the formula, but I don't want to share it because I don't know if it's exactly correct, but I'll tell you something right now. It's going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars every year. That's why I feel very comfortable at this point that we can do this project, if everybody wants to do this project. Thank you.
I just have a couple
Sure.
comments with this. Mr. Malley, in the 12 years I've been here, is dead on his projections.
Sure.
I don't believe that there are assumptions. The assumptions he makes are based in fact. He has been dead on.
I will never doubt that.
And to doubt the 4-year or 5-year projection, I know there are things coming, but we've had a lot of development in the last 5 years.
Not this type, not this type.
But we
These
have
are
also-
massive ones. When a house goes up for sale in the township here, if it's 375, it becomes a bidding war. My kids lost two houses, okay, where they ended up paying more. It would have ended up paying more than the asking price.
I get that.
And real estate is just booming.
I agree.
Okay.
But on the commercial side, every gain we have made in the last 5 years has been offset by a loss, with loss of commercial businesses and with loss from tax appeals. And those are not going away either. We have more of those coming. And
I think the majority of them were taken care of.
That when we talked originally in 2016.
Yeah.
We talked about all the things that were coming.
Sure.
And we decided to not move forward with some of the bigger projects until we saw what was coming.
Sure.
Which ended up being a very good decision because our revenues have not increased any more than 1% every year. So to make the assumption that the next 5 years are going to be better than the last 5 years, I don't think that's the most prudent way to move forward. I would rather see those revenues coming in before I did anything. I know the way I operate, I don't want to buy things that I can't afford. I would love to have a new car or something, but I don't want to take away from something else in my household.
Sure.
To pay for something that I'm not sure I can pay for. Because no matter what, this is going to have a detrimental effect on our budget. You can see the projection. You can say it's a $1.4 million loss. But if you look at the top line, if we continue business as usual, our fund balance will be at 4.43 million.
Yeah.
So it's really a $3.6 million loss in our fund balance. And that's money we could be putting into the capital reserve to move forward with the projects we originally wanted to do. So that's my thought process. I would love for all this to happen, and believe me, I would love to have all-day kindergarten, and I'd love to have a brand-new middle school and a brand-new high school. And if we ask the teachers at the middle school and the high school if they want those, it would be 100% yes. So like asking the teachers what they want without understanding what the repercussions could be, I don't think is valid. But I see this as a $3.6 million loss, and that's best case to me. That's best case because I'm going to go with Mr. Malley's numbers.
Okay.
Because everything has been offset that we've had in the last 5 years. 2 years ago, Mr. Ambrose, we were financially distressed.
No question. We were $800,000 in the hole.
Right. And how have we fixed that?
Number one, with the Shell, extra tax dollars we got along Frankfurt Road. Okay. The bond refinancing, we got about $1 million.
It's a one-time
shot in the arm.
right?
Okay.
And we're getting a one-time shot in the arm on the bond claim here.
Yeah.
But we've done it by cutting.
Yeah.
We have not hired a curriculum director. We've always had, in the time I've been here, an assistant superintendent or a curriculum director. We have not hired one. We cut every building budget by 10%. We cut extracurriculars by 10%.
Sure.
We cut all of the professional development for the teachers by, I don't know what percent, but we have not restored any of that funding.
Yeah.
So we have cut down to the point where we're as low as we can go we drew the line at cutting any type of programming.
Mm-hmm.
We did not do any cuts to programming because the academics are what's most important to this board. And I believe that of each and every member of this board. We may disagree on how we're going to do it, but I think everybody has the students' best interest at heart on this board. Every single one of us, and we always have. But we have cut as much as we can cut.
Okay.
If we get to the point again where all these assumptions don't come true,
okay,
and we just had a flood at the middle school.
Right.
If we have a major failure at the middle school or the high school, the only way that we can pay for things, because there's no new revenue coming in, we've already maxed out our tax increases. The only way is to cut. And we're going to start cutting into things that people don't want to cut into. You know, we're already looking at increasing class sizes at Center Grange by doing this. You know, we're going to take a teacher from somewhere else. In a perfect world, this would be great. We're going to increase class sizes at Center Grange. And there's a possibility that could happen at Todd Lane, at Center Grange, even more if we get into financial distress, which is a possibility when you only have a fund balance of $822,000. And then we're going to look at cutting things that we don't want to cut, like our award-winning music and theater programs. And we're going to cut down on their budgets again. And we've had these things on the board probably 8 years ago. Mr. Bloom, I know you were on the board. We laid out a list because we were in financial distress worse than 2 years ago. And we listed every program in this school, in this district. And then we color coded what we were going to cut. We cut secretaries. We did all those things. But we had on the list gifted programs, AP classes, class offerings at the high school, to limit the class offerings at the high school, to cut the award-winning middle school program. It's won the Don Icon Award three times now in a row. And those things are all realities that we have to be aware of. There will be an impact. Believe me, guys, like I love the idea of all-day kindergarten, but I am not willing to risk everything else that we have done positively in the last 12 years that I've been here on something that I'm not sure of. I think we have time to continue to build our fund balance. We can continue to build our fund balance and do this. And probably come out better than we are now. I don't believe that the bond rates are that big of a deal when you look at the difference in the material costs. Those things kind of offset each other. It's important to me to continue, you know, when we met with our financial
Cipher and Cipher,
when we met with the financial auditor, I asked him, what is his advice? This is in a November meeting. What is your advice for this district? Do not add expenses. And I confirmed it 2 more times with him. And when we had the meeting as a finance committee, that was the impetus for my vote, is he said, do not add any more expenses to this district. He has been through our books better than anybody else has and has a realistic view. and said, do not add expenses, continue on the road you're on, because 2 years ago, we were looking at losing our A rating.
AA rating from Standard & Poor's.
Yeah, but we were at risk of losing.
There's no question.
Now, to me, let's continue on the road that we're on to financial stability to get our fund balance to a point where it should be, because there's a level it should be as a financially healthy district, and start putting money into the capital reserve, which is how we did things in the past, to build up the capital reserve, to spend those monies and spend the money that we have, not that we hope we're going to have, on the projects that are coming up. That's my opinion on this. I just see this as having a negative $3.6 million impact on our fund balance.
Well, I appreciate your input, but when Mr. Seifert was there, Mr. Seifert had no idea that we had all this construction coming down the pike. It's here now, not coming down the pike. It's here. He had no idea about that. He had no idea that in 2 years that the reassessment in Beaver County is going to be completed. And it's not a hypothetical and it's not a guess. It's happening.
But we don't know what those numbers are going to be.
Guess what? I don't want to say it in here, because I don't know the exact number. All right, because we're on TV.
Dave, on the reassessment, that is revenue neutral. We will not receive any more money on the reassessment from the county.
Well, I didn't hear you, John. I'm sorry.
On the reassessment, that's a revenue neutral program. We will not receive any additional real estate tax revenue from the changes in the assessed values.
How about the 5% rule, John?
It isn't. We checked with our solicitor.
Remember, Dave.
Talk to two people
about the 5%.
That's what McElwain said, but we checked with the solicitor. Right, Dr. Perry?
Correct.
Some places it's 10, but we can do 5. Well,
I disagree with you. I disagree.
Okay.
I'd like to say something.
I just wanted to finish.
Oh, go ahead, Tom. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
When we did this, and this committee was formed a year ago,
McElwain told us.
Everyone was on board. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, everyone wanted all-day kindergarten. No one has said we do not want all-day kindergarten. It has always been about the finances and the negative impact it can have on the rest of the district. This committee has done a tremendous job and spent a ton of time, and they're very passionate about it, and I give you credit for that. It's a tremendous job that you did, and we have the information if we want to move forward now or if we want to move forward down the road. And I appreciate the job that everyone has done.
Thank you.
But the main goal of this committee was to show that we could financially, that this is a financially feasible project.
Sure.
At the numbers that I am seeing, the real numbers, and there are some assumptions, but they're the most realistic assumptions based on the history of what Mr. Malley has done. It is a negative $3.6 million impact on this district, and I don't believe that justifies to move forward. That's me as one board member.
Sure.
But I don't want to diminish the job that you've done. Mr. Ross, from day one, you've wanted all-day kindergarten, and you've been passionate about it, and I get it. And I admire the fact that you want to push forward and do what's right for the kids. And I think we also need to look at what it's going to do to not just those kids, but other kids in the district. And I don't want to take away from kindergartners, but I don't want to take away from the job that we're doing for everyone else in the district by possibly having to make cuts and do things that we don't want to do as a district. That in my time on the board, I have seen we have had to do those things, and we've come close to doing some drastic things that I would have never wanted to do. And it's very real that those things have happened in the past. And I don't want to be putting our district in that financial position again. And that's the only reason that I am not for moving forward with this. So and I wanted to do this during the financial part of it because that's really where it's at.
Sure.
Everything else, I get it. I do. I get it. I think there's great things, and I want to do what's best for our kids too. And we just have a little difference in opinion of what's best for the kids. That's what I see. I'm not saying you guys are wrong or you're not right for being passionate about this, but I see doing right for the whole district a little different than some of the other board members right now. That's all.
I'm glad we're able to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But again, There's 9 members on this board,
Yeah.
okay? And it's going to take 5 votes. So whoever wants to step up to the plate or whoever wants to vote against it, that's quite okay. But if we can't afford this, we are never going to afford a renovation of the other 2 schools.
Well, if we do this, we're going to be further away from renovating the other 2 schools.
I'm telling you.
Which we have shown as a priority.
Well, we owe it to the education of the kids. I can't see $500,000 going out our door every year to send these kids to Baden Academy.
Yeah, and we tried to address that with PA Cyber also.
Yeah.
The real problem is not with us trying to pull these kids back,
Yeah.
which we don't know how many we're going to
Sure.
back. The real problem is the funding model
Sure.
at the state level for
We know
charter
that.
schools. That's what the true issue is.
Yeah.
And if we want to have an impact on that, I think we as a board need to get together and get the superintendents together and go through the IU and try to push for reform on that. Because I think that is the true way to save that money.
There's no question. These legislators run every 2 years.
Yeah.
And we've got to put the heat on them. But again, you have your opinion, I got mine. I'm betting that we can do this. That's as
Okay.
simple as that, because I've been on the planning commission for 7 years. We've had 30 building permits. We've had 40. We've had 12 in a given year. I've never seen anything like this.
But we're looking at those not being on the books for at least 4 years either.
Probably 2 to 4 to start. Yeah.
So
Mr. Ambrose, bottom line, being a finance chairperson, obviously you put a lot of time and effort into that, what you've done, come up with the statistics, et cetera. Can we or can we not afford to do this? Your opinion, can we, and what you know is going on in this county and community, can we or can we not do this and make the payments and without putting us in a hole?
I just said it, Luck.
I say it again, I'm asking a flat out question, yes or no?
I'm a betting man. I would bet we can do this.
All right.
Without putting us in the hole. Okay, so I have to say, this is Dr. Udis speaking. Cipher & Cipher is a professional firm that audits our books.
Yes.
There was a meeting, Mr. Perry, you may be able to help me with this, maybe a month and a half ago. You were invited. I was the only one that made it, I think. Mr. Malley was there, Dr. Perry was there, a few people from Cipher & Cipher. It was about a month and a half ago, maybe?
That was the state, that was the auditor general.
No, it was
The auditor, okay, okay, so
That was not our auditor.
right.
that was the Auditor General. Okay, so, okay, sorry for this, okay, but anyway.
I've been accused of worse.
Okay, so basically what they said was that in our position, not any other school district in our county, our position, their recommendation was, they're professionals. We listen to our solicitor when he makes a recommendation because we don't want to run into any kind of hairy problems. These guys gave an opinion. Cipher & Cipher has been pretty good with us. They said they would not spend any money with the pandemic, the way it is right now, would not spend any extra money on any capital improvements. If you have a roof, these were the exact words, and I guess they could probably back me on this. If you have a roof that may be going bad, if you have air conditioning or heating that may be going bad, major capital improvements that need to be done, I would not move forward with this, okay? That's what was said.
Sure.
Okay. With that being said, I have a quick thing. I'm gonna make it short and sweet, and I'm gonna end this with this.
Can I follow up to your comment though before you finish up?
Sure.
I just said this to Mr. Moed 5 minutes ago. Cipher & Cipher doesn't know the money going out the door and what's coming down the line.
Okay, wait, okay.
We're looking at raw numbers there.
Okay, and so are you, because when you get the money, and the only thing, listen, let me read this statement and then I'm gonna be done. I would like to say I respect all the members of this board and the time they put in. But the district's our district, and we need to respect our township people, our citizens, our students. I agree that all-day kindergarten is a plus. I'm definitely, and I would love to see that happen, as we said. We have a pandemic occurring and just don't have the manpower or the money to complete this task right now. I want it to happen. I just don't think right now is time. It's not the time. I don't doubt that all-day kindergarten is beneficial, but being on the finance committee and seeing the numbers, it's just not in our school district's best interest to spend any money right now on any new projects right now. In maybe 2 years, when you start to get this tax basis that you're talking about with the new homes and all these different things, as Mr. Moad said, we'll see the fund balance build up. We'll get more powerful. We'll have more money. Okay. We've had audits and they stated that we should really not do anything except maintain what we have at this time. They're professionals. That's why we have them to guide us. We listen to our solicitor when he speaks. Why not our accountants? Why not listen to Mr. Malley and what we have in the numbers on the board? We're going against what was professionally recommended, basically. So really we're definitely just ignoring what they say. Common sense would tell us that we're setting ourselves up for failure by doing this right now. I don't think it shouldn't be done. I just don't think right now is the time. We're raising and I'm speaking.
Go ahead.
We're raising the taxes. That's okay. We're raising the taxes and we're moving forward and tax base is going to go up. But I think we are definitely setting ourselves up for failure. I say, let these homes come in, let these people buy these houses, let them pay the taxes, do what we need to do, let the fund balance build up, get in a stronger position. When we're in a little bit of a stronger position, do it. That's all I'm saying. I'm on the finance committee just as you are.
Sure.
Okay. I see what's going on. I own a business. I don't put myself in the red. I just kind of go with it and try to make things happen. I know there's investments that need to be done. I just don't see this right now. With all the things going on, there are people moving out of buildings, businesses doing different things, and everything's going online. I just don't see right at this moment that that's the smartest move to make for the people in our township.
And we're not doing that. 15 minutes ago, I said, if you look at this projection, okay, if we're not going to have the $547,000 and $375 till the fall of 2023, that gives us a 2.5-year reprieve.
But you're also assuming that you're taking 100% of those students that aren't going to go back to there because you took a poll. Those students are at kindergarten right now. What about the ones 3 years from now?
But the bottom line is we're saving $1 million a year by putting it off and moving in at that time in 2023.
You think you may save $1 million. I'm not against kindergarten.
No, we make up $2 million right there.
I'm not against kindergarten. The bottom line is right now, we're talking about this right now. We're not talking about it moving forward like in 2 or 3 or 4 years from now. We're talking about it right now. Can we sustain that kind of hit? And I say the answer is no. If you look at the red line at the bottom, it's red. It's not black, it's red.
Right.
Okay. I'm done. I'm good. I said my piece.
My question is for Mr. Ambrose.
Yes.
You just mentioned part of my question about moving, as you said, kicking the can down the road.
Right.
Here. Okay. And if we're not ready to start the all-day kindergarten until the end of the 23 school year, okay, we're 1.8 ahead. Okay. The 923 from the first year, and it goes to 944 the following year, you're at 1.8 moving forward. So those two expenses that you mentioned aren't going to even hit home for 2 years.
Right.
So I think, I agree. I think we can do it.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, I just have one, Dave and or John. A few years ago, I seem to recall that our budget, our total budget, the fixed amount, salaries, insurances, that's that was 85%?
85, 90%.
At least 90%.
90% now.
Yeah.
If we would borrow another 10, 12, $15 million at whatever percent, how would that affect the fixed end of the budget? And what would we have to work with if we had some catastrophic failure in a building or, those are the things I worry about.
I understand that.
Like if my roof's leaking a little bit, can I get by till next year before I fix it? Or can I keep this car running until I can afford to buy a new one? I feel like I'm like Tom. I like to have the money in my hand.
Sure.
Absolutely.
To pay for things. But where will we stand as far as the fixed budget and our ability to maneuver financially?
The numbers.
Those are the numbers right there.
Fine. That's your operating margin. That's your fund balance. Okay.
Status quo.
What
We have any.
percentage of the total budget would that be, John?
Excuse me?
What percentage of the total budget would that be that's fixed?
That is the budget.
You're less than 10%, Joe.
Our fixed
Budget's 35 million.
90%.
Here's, I think, what you're getting at. Okay, if we have just like we had the flood down at middle school. If we have a capital project that needs done that costs $500,000 or whatever it's going to be, it's going to come out of that money right there. We have $30,000 in our capital reserve account. We haven't, so any extraordinary expense comes against your bottom line.
There it is.
Okay?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. We don't have any money in capital reserve. $30,000. That's it. And we've been like that for 7, 8 years. We're lucky. We're lucky that we haven't had to spend it.
Okay.
Anyone else?
You want me to go to this last slide?
Please.
Just with regards to, I said at the beginning, we put together our best estimate of staffing in order to run the program. One of the things you consider, somebody brought this up earlier, is you could increase class sizes a little bit across the elementaries. That would eliminate the need for some of those people, not all of those people, which certainly would cut into some of those expenses for the overall salary and benefit for staff. So just something to consider.
And people have to understand that you come up with these numbers by just dividing into different sections. But in reality, when you go to
schedule, they're not always that even.
Right, that's going to vary.
That's correct.
Sure.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I would hope that.
Friends.
We got a meeting to have.
I would hope that the public can appreciate the time and effort that has gone into looking at this proposal from both the finance committee, the education committee, the administrators who were a part of looking into the feasibility. Obviously, there's a lot of passion around the table on this topic, and I'm sure that the board will do whatever they feel is the right thing to do. So I appreciate everybody's time and patience through the evening so far. We're about halfway through the agenda, but I do want to thank the board, for their passion for our kids, and I know that you'll make the right decision for whatever you think is best for our children. So.
And Ms. Belcastro, I do mean it. Kudos to your committee for all the work you did. I know for
I want to
everybody
thank everyone for their
involved.
opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion here.
There was a lot of work that was done, and that is truly appreciated.
These guys did the work. These guys did.
Yes, sir.
I would like to
Thank everyone for their best behavior.
day kindergarten as an item on the agenda for the next week's meeting.
That's up to the board.
Motion?
On the agenda for next week to vote on it.
Okay, so that's what you want.
Discussed it here. It should be part of the agenda for next week's meeting.
You're motioning, and someone need a second?
I'm going to make the motion.
We need a motion?
You don't need a
No, you don't
motion.
need a motion.
You don't need a motion.
It's an
You're not voting on
No,
anything.
there's no vote tonight.
I did any agenda, below the agenda.
And I would tell you, Mr. Bloom, if it wasn't, you're within your rights to put it on there.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can we move on?
yes, so we got to.
So we're back
On education.
So we're back to you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you. Do I get another hour?
No,
You want to make sure the screen reflects the agenda now, back to the education page? Please. Hey, can I let John go?
Yeah.
sure.
Hey, John, I want to thank you for your evening. Your wife, the Central Valley School District appreciates her lending you out to us for the evening.
Oh, my gosh.
And sorry about the audio, but thanks for Ed to get worked out.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, I'll follow up with you, John.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, number one, to approve, confirm the release time staff development requests. See other the conference, gifted education, the individual is Mary Goss, date is 12/4/2020. To approve the agreement with Sunbelt Staff, provide the district with a speech language pathologist from January 11th, 2021 through June 4th, 2021 at a rate of $71 per hour. District will get excess billed for the partial reimbursement of the provided services.
Any discussion, any questions?
I do want to make a couple quick comments. Just a reminder to the general public that it is our intent to return to school on Monday, January 25th at Center Grange at Todd Lane, Tuesday, January 26th at the middle school and the high school, going back to our hybrid model. We also ask, you're going to be getting a letter from our health department asking a reminder to parents to please be mindful, complete the daily health screening form that we ask you to look at every day before you send your kids to school. There's questions on there with regards to symptoms. There's questions on there with regards to household positive tests that are going on. There's question on there with regards to household quarantines that are going on. So please take care of that so we can take care of the kids here. And if you're answering yes to any of those questions, please keep your kids home. All right, we're going to get back into our model. Everybody should be familiar now with the synchronous learning because everybody's had to do it. It certainly is a viable option with regards to not sending your child to school and still having them keep up with their coursework. We also ask that if you have had any contact with anyone in the household who's tested positive since the first of the year, to please contact our nursing staff. They are here daily. They will make sure that they help guide you on when we should or should not be sending the kids back into school. So we ask that you please pay attention to that. Also, our attendance numbers, just so you know, we've had today would have been day 24 of full synchronous learning in the district. And I took the average across each week, each building, and our attendance numbers, our high school, 94% of our students are logged on every day. The middle school, 93% of our students are logged on every day. Todd Lane, 97% of our students are logged on every day. And at Center Grange, 95% of our students are logged on every day. So, I mean, I think that's pretty impressive that, we almost have 100% attendance every day, considering, the burden that this has put on everybody, especially for parents and childcare and so on and so forth. So kudos to the Central Valley school community and our parents for making sure that their kids are coming to class and showing up on time, so on and so forth. Lastly, with regards to this pandemic, vaccinations, the big topic of discussion right now. School workers are considered Group 1B. We are in the process of working with the IU to try to submit numbers to the state of required vaccinations here in the district. And I'll keep everybody informed as to where we are as the vaccination questions continue to arise. So we're looking forward to getting the kids back. We are certainly going to make sure that we can, as far as mitigation goes. We'll do everything that we had in place in the past, and we'll do everything we can to continue to keep kids six feet apart when feasible. And I'm going to say it, as I said before, not always going to be feasible. Best that we can. Make sure that everybody's masked. Make sure you're keeping your kids home if they're not feeling well. and understand that the state has put restrictions on all the districts with regards to the number of positive cases that are within buildings. So if we get to a point where we get positive cases that hit a certain threshold, we may have to shut school down for a few days. And that's something that we don't want to do. We don't want to be yo-yoing people in and out of being home and not being home. But we certainly are being held to a certain standard that, we will not ignore. So we're gonna do everything we can to get the kids here, keep school open, keep everybody safe the best that we can. And just ask that you continue to help us with the mitigation and doing all things we're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you. Technology, Mr. Moab.
I have nothing. I'm going to make that quick.
Athletics, Mr. King.
Number 1, to approve the following conditioning programs to run January 18th, 2021 through February 27th, 2021 at the rate of $10 per hour up to 60 hours total in compliance with the district athletic health and safety plan. Ray Fernandez softball, Bruce Herstein baseball, Tim Casey boys tennis, Bill King track, Mark Lyons weightlifting. There's also an FYI for the athletic committee is recommended to bring back the following fall sport head coaches: boys and girls golf, Craig Morris; boys soccer, Brad Humble; tennis, Tim Casey; football, Mark Lyons; boys and girls cross country, Bill King; girls volleyball, Candace Glumack; soccer, William Pfeiffer.
Any questions? Discussion? Okay. Extracurricular activities, Dr. Yanis.
Nothing this evening, Ms. Belcastro.
Buildings and grounds, Mr. Zaritsky.
Nothing this evening.
I do want to give a shout out. I got an email from a resident that lives in Lakeview Farms. I know that Mr. Moen had contacted me and asking about the buzzing sound that was coming from one of our air units at Todd Lane Elementary. I guess we have a controller that went bad, and the controller dealt with fan speed, and then it was causing a humming sound early in the morning. While it is not fixed yet, we're waiting for the new controller. They did bypass that so that the sound went away, and asked that I thank the police department and thank Mr. Moad for bringing it to my attention so that we could get that rectified. If things like that, pop up again, just let us know and we'll deal with them. So
The resident called me today and was very thankful that the noise was gone. He said it started every day around 6:30 in the morning, and you could hear it all the way through. So thank you for jumping on that.
Yep, and if supposedly it'll be completely rectified as soon as we get the part.
Good.
Dr. Perry, could you give us an update on the middle school flood?
Yeah, I was going to hit that at the end, but I can certainly do that now. So we had a water main break on Ellis Street last Sunday? Saturday night into Sunday morning. We took significant water into I guess that would be second floor? The second floor near the old original high school office, near the old doctor's office that was there, leading down to the glass hallway. We had a restoration company come in, get rid of all the water, clean everything. They took out anywhere there was drywall, they took out about a foot of drywall in order to make sure that there's no mold. I got to take hats off to our teaching staff and our administrators for being flexible. Had this happened during a regular day and we had kids in school, it would have been pretty bad. We would not have been able to use those classrooms for at least a week. Fortunately, because we were synchronous, those 7 or 8 or 9 teachers, paras, the nurse, they were all able to work from home. And we didn't miss a beat with regards to education. We taught the kids as if the teachers were here in the building. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody knew the difference. So the restoration, as far as the cleanup has been done, the next phase of that will be we're going to have to repair the walls and paint them and so on and so forth where the damage occurred. All being said, I think we're pretty fortunate that we got out of it as little as we did. It could have been significantly worse.
Sure.
That's it. Personnel, Mr. Bloom.
Yeah, we'll be looking to approve the resignation of Teresa Irvin, paraprofessional, effective January 22nd, 2021. To approve the resignation of Jor Pavlidis, custodian, effective December 7th, 2020. To approve Pamela Scipione as our payroll clerk at a rate of $15 an hour in accordance with the CVESP agreement, effective December 16th, 2020, pending receipt, review, and acceptance of all clearances. Number 4, to approve a medical sabbatical for a high school teacher from January 25th, 2021 through June 4th, 2021. Number 5, to approve an FMLA leave for an elementary teacher from March 31st, 2021 through June 4th, 2021.
Questions? Any discussion? Moving on. Finance, Mr. Ambrose.
Number 1, to approve the adoption of the preliminary general fund budget for the 2021-2022 school year, which includes revenues of $39,284,555 and expenditures of $38,842,000. I apologize, $842,510.
Any questions, discussion? Dr. Perry, you have anything else?
I'll be very brief. I think we've talked a lot this evening. I don't want to steal their thunder, but I certainly want to congratulate our middle school folks. I don't know if you saw the article in the Beaver County Times, recognized on Icorn School to Watch winner again, 3rd consecutive designation recognition. And it certainly is a testament to our entire middle school community and the job that you folks are doing over there. So we're very proud of you. And
Was I supposed to go to them first?
what's that?
Was I supposed to go to
You
them?
can go to them next. That's all right. So congratulations to you, staff, the community in general. You did a great job. And then lastly, I hope that the board feels that administratively, we provided you enough information with regards to this kindergarten discussion to, help guide your decision-making, whatever you decide to do as we move forward. So hopefully we gave you enough information.
Now I go to these guys.
Sure.
Who we start? Mr. McCreary, we start with you.
Very brief, just that we are finishing our first semester. Final exams are next week.
I gotta read these too.
Sent out a video to our students today talking about the end of the semester.
I'm gonna do the public comment too. I missed the public comment.
I was definitely looking forward to having.
I'll do it after the
students
principal's
back
do
in
that.
school on the 26th.
Sorry.
One.
It's Mr. Folk. I can't see everybody.
Yes, Mr. Coe can't see.
Do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, so Mr. Dolph, congratulations. Very proud of Hicks and your staff. I know firsthand what it is to be a schools to watch person thing. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to put it on record, that is a group effort, starting with parents, the teachers, custodians, cafeteria. That's our whole team over there at the middle school that got that award and recognition. Kudos to all of them. As Mr. McCreary said, we're wrapping up the second 9 weeks, getting ready to bring our kids back in, getting our mitigation review, PowerPoints, presentations and stuff to remind the kids about the face mask, the hand cleansing, wiping the desks, all the 6 feet, directional arrows, stairways.
After you do board member comments, I'll read the public comments and then we'll be done.
Our staff.
Board member comments, then I'll read the public comments.
Okay.
Everything's all doing well for middle school.
Miss Hicks.
Ms. Hicks, where is she?
She's good. She has nothing to add.
Okay. Ms. Farragotti.
Sorry, just echoing everything that they're saying, running the 9 weeks, we're getting ready for the students to come back. Teachers are anxious and so am I to be back in the building and hearing them. So this, actually next Friday, the students will have a presentation from the Carnegie Science Center provided by the PTA. It's called The Wilds by Design. So if anybody wants that live stream link, I can also send that to you so you can see the assembly that is offered by the PTA.
Thank you. Mrs. Kasanovic?
Yeah, I'm echoing everything you said, but we're preparing for the end of the 9 weeks, getting our grades done and things like that, preparing for winter benchmark soon. We are also going to be part of the Community Science Center program as well. We just can't wait to get the kids back in the building. The teachers are really eager to get them back in school.
Mrs. Park?
I agree. We're ready to have kiddos back here as soon as possible. As far as instruction goes, our teachers are working on virtual competitions and things using next pieces and all kinds of very cool things that they're doing to try to keep our kids engaged. And also I'm excited that Special Olympics has reached out to us based on our high school bocce team program here with the unified sports. They met with Mr. Dolph and some of his teachers and Ms. Hicks, as well as Mr. Gotti and some of her teachers. And we are going to be one of 6 schools in the state to pilot a program at both the middle school and elementary level. So we're excited to see that happening here this spring.
Very good.
Hey, did I leave anybody out? Who?
Mr. Saccone sitting in the back. You're gonna have to be loud.
Winter sports is underway. Kids were able to start practicing on January 4th. Games started this past week. So hopefully we'll get the schedules in, some maneuvering that we had to do. And so they're ready to go in all of our sports. As of right now, spring sports is still up in the air. They have not done anything with that yet. We may hear something here at the end of the month if they even push that back at all. But as of right now, that's going as planned. That's it.
Anything from technology, being that Eddie's not here? Can we?
No, I think
Okay.
we're good on
Okay.
technology front.
Okay, so that leads us to board member comments, and I'm going to start with Dr. Yunus.
I just wanted to say I respect everybody for all the work they've done on this committee for the all-day kindergarten. I wanted to make known that I am for all-day kindergarten, but just not financially now, that's all.
Mr. O'Neill?
Likewise, thanks for all the work. It was nice to have a meeting with nobody yelling at one another.
You agree to disagree?
Mr. King?
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Moab?
Just congratulations to Mr. Dolph and his staff. That's a tremendous honor. And to do it 3 times in a row is just, it's wonderful, and kudos to everyone there. Ms. Park, I'm thrilled to hear that we're moving unified sports to the middle school. I think it's one of the best programs we have in this district to create a true school community.
Please.
I saw the impact it had here at the high school, and I think it's great to move it out as much as we can. And I'm thrilled to hear more about it. And, you know, when you're doing things, please let me know. I love to be there and watch them. So, and to the board, thank you for all the work. And it's great to have spirited debate at times and to disagree. I think we're all, like I said, I think we all have the best interests of the district at heart, and we're going to have spirited debate and we keep it controlled.
Lively. Mr. Ross, you got 2 minutes. 2.
I'm not going to say anything. No. And, you know, the congratulations to the middle school staff and, you know, again, for 3 years in a row, I think it's a great accomplishment. Do we get anything out of that?
We get a banner and we'll have a recognition late in the spring.
Get a grant.
Press.
Get money. What are you going to do for an encore?
Probably have you guys speak in front of them.
Got to start early.
We'll start at 7:30.
Good. Mr. Bloom?
Likewise, I'd like to congratulate the middle school administration and staff on the great job, great recognition. Keep up the good work.
Mr. Zaritsky?
I have 2 things. One, to the administration, the teachers and everything, that the transition from homeschooling, seeing it firsthand, just fantastic job. I know other people in town and everything saw a comparative of how some other districts do it. Far supersedes it. I mean, it blew it out of the water. Congratulations with where that is, how that's all going. The attendance shows that. I know there's some hiccups and different things like that, but overall, just fantastic job. Congratulations, Mr. Dolph. And then, I don't want to be the one that didn't, even though it's repetitive, to the the finance committee and the education committee, kindergarten committee, just outstanding job. I know there was a ton of effort, ton of time put in, great information, and see what goes on. I think that there's a lot of positive on both sides of this, some concerns and everything, but besides all of that, just fantastic job. The efforts put forth.
Good. Mr. Ambrose?
One other thing I'd like to echo what Mr. Zaritsky said. I spent 2 days a week for the last couple of weeks having my 3 grandchildren, grades 3, 5, and 6, in my dining room, on my kitchen table, in one of the bedrooms. It was a real experience. But I want to say our teachers are absolutely phenomenal. The patience that they have. When I hear one of the teachers saying, Anthony, where's Anthony? Is he still with us? I mean, and they're dressed up. They're pleasant. They're upbeat. Great job.
I agree.
Kudos to the staff, and I want to thank everybody for a good discussion this evening. Thank you for your hard work, everyone's hard work. And on that point, we're going to public comment.
Yeah, so there were 2 public comment. One came this morning, came from Emily Morris, 108 Swansea Drive. My name is Emily Morris, graduated from Center High School, 1998, and I've since returned to CVSD area in 2017 with my husband, David. We have 5 children ranging in age from 6 years to 7 months. My daughter Delaney is our oldest child and is currently in kindergarten. Prior to COVID in early 2020, my husband and I made the decision to pull our daughter from CVSD, and we enrolled her in Baden Academy. We believed the best placement for her was in a full-day kindergarten environment where she could have more learning and social opportunities to best prepare her for early literacy and academic success. Because of COVID-19, we changed our plans for our daughter to keep her home and re-enrolled her in the Central Valley's online academy. Our hope is that moving forward, we can keep our children in our homeschool district in a full-day kindergarten placement. We believe CVSD is a great school system, but hope the structure of the kindergarten program is evolved into a full-day opportunity to best support and prepare our little ones for their brightest future. Thank you for your time and consideration regarding a full-day kindergarten program at CVSD. And the second one came this evening from Amy Langeli, 223 Bainbridge Drive. It says, I'd like to say, as a public educator myself, that I hope we are discussing all these options with the current educators, taking their opinions into high consideration as they are the ones who directly contact and see the needs. Firsthand, I can tell you that I think CV kindergarten teachers are stretched thin. They teach twice the amount of students in half the time of most kindergarten teachers. My daughter was blessed beyond belief to have Miss Magnella last year, and this woman worked hard to provide my daughter with everything possible, often sacrificing her own time to stay late and try to do so. With that being said, I feel that she and all the other kindergarten teachers are asked to do more with less every day. Something somewhere has to give. If Miss Magnella was able to provide my child with a suitable education, I wonder what the results could have been if she had more time. She will always be a positive influence on my daughter, so please don't get me wrong. She was amazing. Let that be on the record more than anything that I'm saying, but I believe that the system needs to be reevaluated. I have another daughter coming up. I'm currently in favor of all-day kindergarten, not for babysitting purposes. I have that covered, but to give the teachers the proper amount of time with the proper amount of students so they can do more. They're being limited by time and numbers. If they could be given what most consider a normal load, just imagine what we may see. I feel as though we have teachers like Miss Magnella being held back and she's still excelling. Imagine what could happen if she had twice the amount of time with half the students, maybe recess social interactions could happen more frequently as well. I currently have to get to my own board meeting for my school, so I need to post this comment and unfortunately listen to the reply recorded.
And there's another one.
Let's see here.
Jennifer.
Yes, I'll cover this. I think I got the end of that one. I'm not positive. There was another one from Jen Checketts, 158 Cedar Ridge Drive. It says you may cover this, and I don't feel like we should try to implement full-day kindergarten somehow. But if we would do this project for Center Grange, where does that leave the middle school and high school buildings that are in need of renovations? Also from Jennifer Checketts, will there be another meeting for public input before the school board votes on Center Grange project? There'll be opportunity, I'll answer that. There'll be an opportunity for public comment next week prior to a vote. And then lastly, total respect for all the information that you put together and the passion you have for our school district. And I pray that Beaver County and Center Township go nowhere but up from here. What would happen after the shell plant is done being built? The work crew goes from 5,000 to 600 families leave the area to build the next plan. Is there still a way to guarantee that district will be okay taking this risk? So I don't believe there's any others that I see, and I want to thank those folks for their comments.
Nick, I'd like to say a question. You know, I had touched on it on my presentation, and I'm playing devil advocate here, okay? And because you know, so many of these governors, there's 16 states that have all day, every day, okay? It's forced it by the governor. What would happen? I mean, I know there's a concern with money, obviously. What would happen after this virus is over with? And let's just say the governor says, you're going to do it. Where are we then? Or the department, you know, the Secretary of Education, the new guy. Let's say they force the issue for us to do it. What do you do?
Be like any other unfunded mandate. I mean, we make it happen, right?
Mr. Ross, that's why I asked that question to see, you know, because sometimes when states force things like mergers and things, there are financial considerations given to those districts. That's why I asked that question to you originally, was those states that did force, do you know if they, like, I'd like to know that. You know, did they offer any funding to the schools that they forced to implement that?
I guess there would be some sort of funding.
They did that with forced mergers at one time too, and they gave money.
We didn't get what they promised us, that's for sure.
They didn't give us what they promised, right?
And you know, the other comment that I will make real quick, unfortunately, we're sitting in a position on this board that when that school was built, the powers to be at that time, I don't know, sitting back and looking at it, I don't know that the vision was there to see what possibly was going to happen to this district down the road, the merger. And they've been talking about this merger since the 50s. Am I right, Tom King? Back in the 50s, they've been talking about it. So eventually it might have happened, okay? And all day, every day. And I don't know that enough thought, and it puts it on this board where we are to try to find out how to do it. And I know it's beside the point because that's over and done with, but that's why I think of whatever we do so that other boards, other administrations down the line to do it and do it right so that they're not in the same position that we're in right now that could have been taken care of when we built a brand new building back then. So whatever we do down the road, whether it's the middle school, the high school, whatever, I would hope that we have enough vision to make it, to do it and do it right and say, well, okay, this is all we can afford to do now and let the other person worry about it down the road. Because that's what is happening to us right now. It's a program that I think everybody agrees that we need.
2 minutes.
Put in a position because the powers to be at that time, I don't think had the vision or whatever, I'll hold back and say what I want to say on that, but the vision wasn't there and it should have been done back then.
I'm confident that whatever this board decides to do, you will do what you think is the right thing for the students of Central Valley. And whatever that is, however that comes about, I can guarantee you that this administration will make sure that we're successful in whatever decisions made. That I promise you.
Amen. Okay, I call for an
Amen.
motion, right? I call for a motion, right?
Yes, you can call in.
So moved.
You making a motion there, Dennis? Second?
Give me those glasses back.
Risky?
I know what the rental fee could be, purchase price is.
Let me know when we're off.